is a piece of land. Someone say piece of land, not a plot of land. Because this 60 by 120 is it forget that, because when you start talking plot, they say this is not land, this one is just a plot. Because the reason why many of you don't have anything is because you have been plotting your plot. When you don't know what to do with money, other people will give you vision for your money. As long as the land is genuine, anywhere is a place. You know why? A city today was a village yesterday. A village today will be a city tomorrow. So don't be deceiving yourself to say, that place is a bush. There is no bush anywhere. Technology eliminates, because you can be anywhere in this country and be connected to the internet. You can be anywhere in this country and you can be on the phone. You can be anywhere in these 5 things you should know to help you get started. Number 1, if you are going to own your own house with ease, you must have a vision of home ownership. I personally believe that nobody, and I repeat, nobody should be married without a vision of home ownership. Vision helps you to wake up in the morning to pursue something. So you first of all have to have a vision. Somebody shout vision. Nobody should be married without a vision of entrepreneurship. Nobody should be married without a vision of financial freedom. So when you're planning to get married, some of the things you need to be discussing is, number 1, what is our vision for wealth creation? Number 2, what is our vision for entrepreneurship? Number 3, what is our vision for home ownership? I believe that anyone that gets married, by your 10th wedding anniversary, you should be in your own. One of the things I realized was, number 1, rich people don't work for people, they work for themselves. So I knew that entrepreneurship was going to be very, very important in my own life. The second thing I realized was that
Hello, Africa. Hello, Nigeria. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be joining us from anywhere in the world. I want to especially welcome you all to the Mega Housing Summit 2020. The maiden edition came up last year, 2019, and it was a live event. But as we all know, the pandemic changed the way we do things. The rules of engagement has literally changed. And so for that reason, we decided to take the Mega Summit 2020, the second edition, take it online. Last year was massive. Last year was phenomenal. And we had some of the finest minds you find on the soil in this continent share with us amazing thoughts with us. And we had loads of people who joined in that conference as well, who were beneficiaries of certain gifts. We gave out TV screens, we gave out plots of land, we gave out quite a number of things, and some people even won. Some people won all expense paid trip to Dubai. Incidentally, they were meant to travel this last June, but lockdown affected us. But that's notwithstanding, they are still on the line. So as soon as the airwaves, international airwave, opens up, most of these people will go. So I want to especially welcome you all to the Mega Housing Summit. My name is Oladipupo Clement, and I often like to refer to myself as the chief servant for LifePaid Group. LifePaid Group is a holding company for real estate investment, for software development company, construction company. We play in quite a few sectors around the country. And we are very, very excited as a company. We began with a mission, with a vision of making lives richer. We're very passionate about seeing people create wealth, and we hate seeing people poor. And that's why we host events that we host from time to time. So without boring you with too much of stories, today is an exciting day for me personally, because apart from some of our speakers last year who are also sharing with us this year, we have Professor Pat Utomi, who will be sharing with us today. And I'm so excited. I had, a one-on-one session with him sometime in March in Dubai. And I must tell you, this is one of the best brains. I mean, one of the finest minds you find, on this continent. And it's so deep. He's so deep, so vast. And he has so sharp a memory. Prof is Prof is so an amazing man, and I'm very, very honored that he accepted to be on this platform. I mean, for those of you who may not know, Prof loves teaching, and so get your notes, get your get your writing pad, and all of that. Get it ready, and get ready for a time of your life. For those of you who are joining us from wherever, I also want to encourage you to follow us at Million Homes AFR on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You're probably watching me right now on Facebook, or you're watching on YouTube. On YouTube, just click on the subscribe button right away, so that each time we upload videos, you are able to see that, all right? So that you're able to get notifications. So I want to encourage you to do that. Just 1 minute, please, before you bring up that video. So you do well to follow us, and then you also do well to share that link. Let everybody join in from wherever they may be, anywhere in the world. That's the beauty of virtual conferences like this. It helps us to, go borderless, and help us to be able to get into people's homes wherever they may be, anywhere in the world. So if you love anyone, if you truly care about anyone, this is not time they should be anywhere else but on this platform. So you want to do that very quickly. The theme of this conference is affordable, accessible, and acceptable housing. Some houses are quite affordable, but are not acceptable. And then not too many houses or homes and apartments are accessible. And again, when you talk about affordability, affordability is also relative, depending on your economic, socioeconomic strata. All right. So we're going to be learning a whole lot. And Professor Pat Utomi is one of our mega keynotes speaker at this year's edition of Mega Housing Summit. And I'm so excited because, I mean, we paid him a courtesy visit just a couple of days back. And some of the things he shared with us within few minutes was mind-blowing. So if you are into real estate space as a business person, then this lecture will also benefit you. If you are looking for where to invest and where to play as an investor, this is also a very great place to play. And then if you are thinking of becoming a broker or whatever within the value chain, this conference is going to tremendously impact on you and impact on your finances. And the hope and aim of this conference is that at the end of the day, you get your housing issues resolved. For those of you who already have houses, then you will be getting more insight on how you can increase your portfolio and all of that. So there's so much to be shared, but today is not for me. I'll be giving you more of this. We still have other lineup of speakers. We have Dr. Lumide Emmanuel who will also be, I mean, some of you here already know that's my revered mentor. Dr. Lumide Emmanuel is a veteran, and you also need to hear him. He's going to be our last speaker for tonight. And it's also going to be a great time with him. Get ready and get ready. And then, you know, we also have the privilege of hosting, you know, one of the finest minds. Actually, he also taught me. You know, I attended a school some time ago, and then he taught me in that class. We have the Southwest Redan chairman. We have the Southwest chairman for Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. He will also be addressing us here as one of our keynote speakers. This year's edition is phenomenal. We've structured it in such a way that whatever it is, for those of you who may not, for some people who may miss out on this, they have an opportunity to connect with other speakers every other weekend throughout this month. So it's going to be an amazing time. So get ready as we open up and expect to listen to Professor Pat Utomi. Listen to the intro. Thank you. Can we go on, please? Director of Media, can you please go on?
Introducing Professor Pat Utomi, political economist, renowned professor and former Nigerian presidential aspirant. Professor Patrick Okedinachi Utomi, born on February 6, 1956 in Kaduna. Professor Utomi is a Nigerian professor of social and political economy, environment of business and entrepreneurship at the prestigious Lagos Business School. He is the founder of Center for Value in Leadership and the African Democratic Congress. He had earlier served in senior positions in government as special assistant to the President of Nigeria, late Alhaji Shehu Shagari, and advisor cum consultant to late Vice President Alex Ekweme. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Pat Utomi.
Good evening, sir.
Wow. Good evening. Thank you so very much for the warmth of your welcome. It is a great pleasure and a privilege to be able to join as you engage in this very important subject matter. I can tell you that when I think housing, I think so many things. I think first and foremost of the way that economies grow. When I think housing, I think of the way that people feel fulfillment and live their aspiration as a result of what they have managed to work at and produce in terms of housing. When I think housing, I think investments and how people store value. So to be able to join up so many today to discuss that subject is one that excites me enormously. And I would like to say that people like you deserve a great deal of compliment. You deserve the congratulations for the vision to put together a summit of this nature so that people can focus their minds on something that is central to how man essentially establishes his possibilities on this planet.
Thank you, sir.
You know, you can be more focused than to think about providing what is at one and the same time a basic need. One of the most important basic needs man does have is shelter. And that same basic need takes you to a higher level of fulfillment. So if you take Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you find a extraordinary nature of housing to both fulfill a basic need and provide you fulfillment, the ultimate. So that's how really extraordinary housing is as a factor in human. So can I now proceed and speak to the presentation?
Sir.
All right, so I will invite the sharing of the screen in looking at the subject matter, so that I can just walk through the territory that I would like to cover in the presentation. All right. With speaking to the subject of affordable, acceptable, and accessible housing. Seems like a lot of things to desire at one time. Affordable, acceptable, and accessible. Now, a lot of people look at housing and what they see is not affordable. And when they see what is affordable, it's probably somewhere in the middle of some jungle, some forest, that it is clearly not acceptable and not accessible. But it is possible to find quality housing that is acceptable, that is accessible, and that is surely affordable. The idea of brainstorming on how to solve the problem of man's shelter needs invariably will have to cover this territory. And as we approach it, let us go to the very basic of housing, which is its affordability. Affordability because everyone needs housing. I am frequently making jokes about how people leave the hierarchy of their needs with housing as my example. As we know, back in the 50s, Abraham Maslow helped man to begin to understand motivation better by recognizing that men all have needs, and their needs are essentially on a hierarchy. At the very base of it are those needs of housing, shelter, food. And most people, you know, when they start out challenged, underprivileged, the first thing they say, if I could just have some food, if I just have a roof over my head in one way or the other. And so my joke starts with a person who comes out from the boondoggles somewhere. I don't want to name any state now. I typically would joke, mention one state somewhere in the South, and say the person takes off from that place coming to Lagos. His folk in Lagos have told him that Lagos is paradise on earth. So he's looking forward with great expectation. He comes on the back of some 911 truck, hoping to get to Lagos and live the life. Every roundabout, somebody told him, you know, back in those days, when my story started, was before the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And so the traffic used to come to Lagos through Ikorodu. And there was a big roundabout in Ikorodu where you turn. So So any roundabout he sees, because they told him there's one big roundabout as you're approaching Lagos, any roundabout he sees, he shouts, Lagos, Lagos. And then it would not be Lagos, maybe Shagamu roundabout. Then ultimately he eventually gets to Lagos. And then he goes to somewhere off Ikorodu Road, where a cousin of his used to ride from many years ago. And goes to Fadi. And Fadi, he asked for, after this is cousin, and they said, no such person lives here. Probably moved out about 10 years ago. We don't know where he is. So he has arrived Lagos. He has no house, nothing. He ends up sleeping under a bridge. And imagine that somebody comes to him while he's sleeping under the bridge and says to him, look, if you had a wish, what would it be? He says, oh, if I could find somewhere in Ajegunle that I could share with 5 people, 1 room, that would be tremendous progress. I mean, how I would, if God could only do that for me. And then you do him better. You say, okay, I'll give you 1 room just by yourself in Ajegunle. And he's very, very thrilled. He's very excited. When you meet him 2 years later, he's asking, look, those people who live in flats in Surulere, do they have 5 heads? Are they not human beings? That's the point about human needs never being insatiable. And should he get lucky and move to Surulere, very soon he begins to wonder if people who live in Victoria Land and Ikoyi were not born of women. So man aspires. And one of the anchors to his aspiration is housing. That's a subject of our basic need. So in moving into this subject, we have to look at housing both as a basic need of shelter, the fact that it's a source of store of long-term value, the fact that it is a place where there's a regeneration of capital, the fact that this housing as a basic need provides security, as a fungible asset, enables us all to live the mystery of capital and project our self-worth and pride. Now we take on this subject, basic needs of shelter. Clearly, if you do not have a roof over your head, you are likely to be challenged by many things. So most people would like a roof over their heads, but how do they assure this? Typically, most people rent to start with. And in renting, they have a roof over their heads. But very often, it does not take into account the fact that somewhere down the line, the environment will not be amenable to being, shaped any which way to make them, more themselves, because it is somebody else's. So renting has its value to give you that original basic need for shelter, but you want to own yours so that you can do with it as you please and get more out of it. Besides, as you keep paying rent, you are losing what could have been inputted into long-term value. If you had a mortgage and what you paid as rent was paid as mortgage, it is adding up to what will become your own house. And so there's need to rethink that basic shelter essence of housing. Now, we have also found in economic perceptions of how nations grow rich, that many economies grow essentially based on the fact that people can have property that they can remortgage and use to raise capital to start a business. So a house can be the very basis for your growing your financial possibilities, because it's a source of capital. It is literally a fungible asset that can be converted into capital. But what we find, of course, is that in some societies, in some countries, it's a lot easier to transform property that you have into capital than in others. There is a Peruvian economist called Hernando de Soto, who is particularly famous for a small book that he wrote years ago. Got a lot of commendation from people on the right, capitalists. Margaret Thatcher was one of the great lovers of the book. Basically, Hernando Soto, who has been to Nigeria a couple of times, he spoke at Eyimgbeti here in Lagos, the Lagos Economic Summit many years ago, and on two other occasions that I know of that he came to Nigeria, besides the Eyimgbeti one. But the Soto essentially argues that the difference between the rich West and the poor rest of us is the fact that in Africa, for example, we all have assets, but our assets constitute what he calls dead capital, because we cannot translate it into, say, collateral for a loan that you can then use to start a business. And many of us have houses that have no C of O. Because it has no C of O, we can't use that house for much more than just sleep in it. But in the West, literally every piece of land, every house has value, which is in a registry known and can be traded. This ease of trade of that value is essentially what makes it easy for him to leverage it to get cash to start a business. This is what he talks about when he talks about representational systems, land registry, and all of that. Converts your assets into capital. Whereas in poor countries like Nigeria, where these representational systems are not significantly developed, people have assets, but these assets constitute dead capital. So we don't grow business fast enough or big enough because most of our capital, which is dead, cannot lead to regeneration. That fungibility, that asset of capital is lost to our assets. So we also know that this whole terrain is a very important one because it is one of the easiest ways for transgenerational gifting to transfer value from one generation to another. The Queen of England, the royal family, the Windsors, are such wealthy people, not so much because they are great producers of any wealth, but because they have huge landed assets. If you own a good part of Mayfair, the rents that you extract for owning Mayfair will make you a very rich person from generation to generation. So clearly, housing is a major source of transgenerational gifting. And then, of course, it constitutes a major part of your national capital stock. I often say to economic development people that one of the tragedies of our development experience, compared, for example, to that of Singapore, is that the concept of forced savings, which is what is mobilized for investments and growth, always there, was brilliantly played by people of Singapore through the housing fund, which was set up by the Housing Development Board of Singapore. Takes a lot of credit for Singapore's ascendancy as an economy. Unfortunately for us, we have not been able to do likewise, even though we had our own housing fund and all of that. We have not managed the process well enough to get the kind of bounce on capital as Singapore has managed to get out of the stock of the Housing Development Board. So we're challenged in making the point that real estate matters, in saying that it is important for us to review and reflect on these critical parameters of housing and real estate in general in order to boost our individual self-worth and drive growth of our economies. I often say that when I was a young graduate student in the United States in the late 70s, I never stopped to be fascinated by the fact that the leading news broadcast in America in those days was the CBS Evening News. It was anchored by a gentleman called Walter Cronkite. And Walter Cronkite was often referred to as the most trusted man in America. And every evening, two things ended his news broadcast. He would say, "That's the way it is, 21st January, 1978. But the other thing that went with the closing of every broadcast was housing starts. The news will run a click on the number of housing units that were started in the United States that particular day. So that's how important housing is for economic development. Indeed, it played a fundamental role in the emergence of the middle class as we know it today. And if we just move on to the next slide, you know, how the world got to become a middle class world. And there are many stories that are told about how American middle class emerged. But one of the best, in my view, was told by a Harvard professor called Tedlow. Dick Tedlow, in his book, The Giants of Enterprise, essentially tells the story of Henry Ford, the moving assembly line, and how, of course, as we all know, capital, following the Industrial Revolution, was not so friendly to the working class. Workers lived miserable lives. Charles Dickens in England, his famous novels were about the misery of the industrial workers in the heart of that Industrial Revolution. And the next huge leap after the design of the steam engine or redesign of the steam engine by James Watt, which drove the Industrial Revolution, the next great leap was actually the moving assembly line. And who was at the heart of the moving assembly line but Henry Ford? Henry Ford changed the course of history in many ways because, like the typical capitalist of his time, he was nasty to labor at first, until it occurred to him, wait a minute, how come people who are producing these Model T Fords cannot afford to own one? And his response to it was a dramatic increase in salaries. That increase in salaries, some give credit for stimulating the middle class as we know it today. But the other thing that is giving much credit for this is the fact that as World War II was nearing a close and the governments of that era in America wanted a boost to the people, one of the ideas was to create a housing agency that came to be known as Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would be twin organizations that would shape the growth of housing in America. And this is captured significantly in their corporate essence. Fannie Mae had as his big, hairy, audacious goal to democratize home ownership. Why are you here? They will say, to democratize home ownership. So a person who is able to own, to vote, should be able to own a home. That was the major logic of Fannie Mae. And this had transforming consequence on housing starts and the growth of the American economy after World War II. So it is critical in this understanding that we be able to learn from the American experience in traveling that track. So after the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac driven expansion of the American economy, there was excess, of course, that loomed many years down the line, as we now know. The global financial crisis of 2008 was essentially the result of the subprime crisis that came out of how bankers played the housing or mortgage values that existed. Because property values kept going up, people were sold property that they could not really afford, in the quote-unquote understanding that they would grow into the property values would make up for they are not having the income to drive the mortgage. That basic lie, which allowed the consultants, the bankers, to earn a lot of bonuses, would eventually become a fundamental challenge for the people who bought those mortgages. Because risks could be packaged and sold globally, American realtors sold their risks in packages around the world, which is why the speed of contagion when the bubble burst on those products was global. Many people around the world held packages of American mortgage products that really came unraveling. But there is no doubt that mortgage remains a critical source of value and of sharing this value, storing it, and transmitting it. So, what are the challenges that we have had to deal with as investment with real estate? How is it affected by the times that we live in, with COVID-19 creating new kinds of circumstances for us? Well, we experienced the fractured supply chains and increased costs that were driven by that. Inputs for housing development in a country like Nigeria that did not manufacture most of its inputs had to go up. But it only creates a new opportunity for us to say, how do we create value chains that will enable us be competitive in producing inputs for the kinds of things we need as much as we need housing? There are numbers that have been flying back and forth about the housing deficit situation in Nigeria. Some will tell you that it's a 17 million housing units deficit. Some will say 19 million. I've had conversations with Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, who is the minister responsible. He has a completely different view. He thinks that these are exaggerated, and he gives reasons why he thinks they're exaggerated. But the truth is, whether they're exaggerated or not exaggerated, the truth is that we have millions of housing unit gaps, and these need to be filled. And this constitutes an opportunity. This constitutes not just opportunity for investment, but opportunity for growth of the economy, opportunity for business in various aspects of the value chain, because there are so many things that go into a house, whether it is the cement business or the wood business or the metal business or the glass business, or you can go on and on and on. The very many constituents of a housing unit, and how that can be produced and produced cheaply enough to be affordable, to be accessible, and to therefore become the essential basis for the, if you will, fulfillment of the people in the economy. So let's move more quickly now. I'm sorry I didn't ask how much time I had to speak for. So if I'm left alone, I might go on for the next hour, but I think I should probably now find out how much time I have so I can check myself. Is there any chance it can be told how much time I have? Well, let me then quickly turn to institutions and creative investments.
All right, sir. You have 15 minutes more for your
okay.
speech, and then we still want to take a 10 minutes question. 10 minutes
question and answer. Okay. All right, lovely. So I'll speak to the issue of institutions and creative investment very quickly. I've talked already about property rights in talking about Hernando de Soto. There are issues of new products, creative packages that can bring people into investing in the housing space. There's so many ways, especially with fintech. I spoke recently somewhere about how the use of mobile telephony allowed Africa to leapfrog in some areas. M-Pesa in Nairobi or Kenya, and how mobile money grew there. We can use that technology to do a lot of things, to have savings for mortgage and so on and so forth. The point is that there's so many products that can come up as a result of these developments. Blockchain technology and artificial intelligence and other things that are flowing out of the fourth industrial revolution products are also opportunities to create different kinds of products and services in the mortgage field that can increase opportunities for all. I think also that if we bear all of this in mind and then approach the big question of how affordable housing has been treated, I think we'll find that one of the benefits of World War II was that it forced many of the societies of the West to look at the well-being of their people and how affordable housing was part of that. On the American side, the role that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac played, I have mentioned and talked about. But social housing was very big in the United Kingdom. Indeed, the rise of Fabian socialism, and that's a long story that I don't have the time to go through, but I love the story of how the Fabians began to group and actually founded the university, the London School of Economics, which then became a very veritable source of policy advocacy and all of that. Eventually then led to a Labour government. And one of the major things they did was social housing. So right in the middle of London, they built many affordable housing projects, quite a number of them in very key locations close to prime areas. And it enabled affordable housing to be accessible. And this changed a lot in the UK. Of course, in later years, there have been all kinds of arguments about how that has developed. And they have tried to do some gentrification of some of those areas. But the impetus of that, I think, was very, very helpful. At the local level, we have also seen affordable and accessible housing develop as a result of many factors. I was a young man growing up in Lagos when Eko Bridge was built in the 60s, during the Civil War, actually. And I was a Surulere boy. I grew up around the Aderogun Sanya area in the 60s. That area used to be an extremely exclusive area. In fact, it was so exclusive that we could not get a bus. Buses didn't come into Aderogun Sanya. The world ended around Bode Thomas. So all this Eric Moore area was just bush at the time. And like I said, the Aderogun Sanya area was upper middle class housing as such. And if we as kids needed to get on a bus, we had to walk our way all the way to Western Avenue to Alaka to get on a bus. But what happened when they started building Eko Bridge? They needed to relocate people who lived in the Saleko area that had to go down to build Eko Bridge. And they built social housing around that neighborhood. It became the Shita area, where I think in those days we call them Unile Gogoro because they were tall buildings, so to speak. They were how many stories? 4 or so stories high. But it gave people who lived in what may be called blighted neighborhoods an opportunity to come into a fairly affordable housing in what would be prime neighborhoods. And we saw that happen in other places. I've given a more rural example with the LNG project in Bonny and the housing development there. Of course, we saw several other such projects driven by government. Indeed, the government in which I served, the government of Alhaji Shehu Shagari, made housing one of its cardinal projects. And so he went around the country taking areas of land that were accessible, generally speaking, and to be opened up and build houses in those places. However, because of politics, in some states that were in opposition, the state governments refused to give the federal government land in prime areas, so they had to go way into the bush to build those houses. At that time, they seemed like totally inaccessible and all of that. The amazing thing about development is many of those places have become center of town today. And this is part of the story. Of course, what has happened with some of those houses, for example, in Lagos, the Jakonde administration was very aggressive in trying to put up social housing in the middle of town, the Ikmori area in Surulere, and several such places around town. But what we see is that many of those areas need to be revisited. So there's a new housing opportunity in a form of, not the pejorative sense, gentrification. That there are possibilities that those kinds of neighborhoods that seem sort of inappropriate where they are located can start new real estate investment to rebuild or remodel some of those houses, upgrade them, give them more value for those who own those places, and run. The Akerele area, which was, for example, in Surulere, part of that process of low-cost housing in between middle-class areas with those bungalows. They were very cheap, one-room apartments in those days. Today, they should be redeveloped, many of them, because they are prime locations. You don't have to chase away the people who live there today, as tends to be the case. But you could, in gentrification, provide them opportunity to have greater income. If they chose then to move elsewhere and rent that out, that's their business. But you could raise the quality of the housing while keeping things affordable, sort of. Okay. So bearing this in mind, I would like to say that the key is housing available to all, housing that is affordable, and one that everybody can be proud to own and live a retirement that they can look back on and say, we worked hard and we had something to show for our life's work in the quality of the place of abode that we have, and which they can ultimately then pass on to the next generation what started for them as affordable, acceptable, and accessible housing, becoming a great gift across generations. Dear friends, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the infinite possibilities of the human spirit can be found in how creativity in housing can help us change the lives of people, both as potential owners of transforming a value stock and as people who can live in greater comfort, escaping what the Princeton economist Angus Deaton would call the great escape, the miseries of life, from education and healthcare into places where they can live with the satisfaction that their life's work has given them. I want to thank you very much for your kind attention, and I'll be very pleased to entertain questions. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We're going to be taking a few questions. I'm sure there are loads of questions already in the chat room. So I'm expecting the media director to put them up so we can take them one after the other, as much as we can take within the time available. So thank you so much once again, Prof. Deeply appreciate this opportunity, honestly. And I know we're still going to have a lot more that will be more enclosed. We still need to have an enclosed session, especially for developers, because there's quite a lot that government should do, but for whatever reasons, I don't think the priorities are right on the part of the government. But we can't keep
that's a very important area, actually, that you already have raised as a question. One of the big challenges we have is that we overassume about what government knows and how government should act. It is our business as stakeholders to shape how government acts. And organizing ourselves to be able to do that is a critical part of the way forward. You know, in 1985, there was a conference in Nairobi that the Aga Khan Foundation sponsored that was designed to enable or facilitate a tripartite approach to development, where government, the private sector, and the so-called NGOs or PDAs, as they were called back in those days, private development agencies, in partnership determined how policy will be shaped to advance the common good of all. That resulted in the founding of the Enabling Environment Forum in Nigeria. And the Enabling Environment Forum eventually became the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. But I don't think that our organizing of that has gone as well as should. And so we need clusters of players like you to look at an area. For example, we don't have a mortgage industry in Nigeria. A couple of years ago, and I know the IFC has done a big study. Everybody keeps studying and studying, and nothing really happens. I don't know why. I was helping somebody get a mortgage from First Bank. Actually, I can go as far as mentioning the name. And because I had access to the managing director, I was able to help. And then I learned to my chagrin that that was one of less than 38,000 active mortgages in the entire country of 200 million people. If there's anything that encourages corruption in the country, it is that. It's that. I mean, everybody wants to own a home, and there are only 38,000 active mortgages in the country. Where did the rest of the people get all the money they're using? They're either stealing it, taking bribes, or building one block at a time. You know, so if we want to really build this economy, we've got to find a creative way of building a mortgage industry.
Interesting. Another question here from Jonathan Anaja Mataya says, he said, I have a question. The average annual rent in Nigeria is quite less than average annual mortgage payments. How easy then will it be to convert one's annual rent into a mortgage?
Well, you see, the fact that you are going to own the house is more value. So of necessity, if you paid more mortgage, you shouldn't really see it as a problem. However, it should be structured such that it doesn't kill you. You need to eat and do other things. You know, you can't be living for the house. I think that because the mortgages are very short in their tenure, and part of the reason is because we don't have a housing market. When I say housing market, I mean the sense that you can easily sell. You see, of course, the joke in America is that the average American is what? One paycheck away from homelessness. Because if you don't earn a pay 1 month, 2, 3 months, you can't pay your mortgage, and they repossess the house, and you are homeless typically. So people are struggling not to lose their jobs because they don't want to, lose paying their mortgage. But the mortgage is a very long one, so the rent does not have to be so much lower than the mortgage, because the mortgage is a long mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, whatever. But in Nigeria, because the mortgage is so short, 7 years, sometimes 2 years or whatever, the rent is obviously much lower. So that's really what the challenge is there. We need to, if the markets were such that you can easily take the person's house if he didn't pay mortgage for 3 months. Then you can sell it immediately to another person, and so you will not have that problem. Sorry,
Wow,
I'm trying to read the next.
So Odeyemi Oladele, yes, Odeyemi Oladele is saying, is there any alternative, either product that can to mix in replacement of cement? That question is not quite clear.
Yeah, okay, now I get the question actually. You know, part of the cost of housing.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, part of the cost of problem of the cost of housing, which is affecting our housing stock, is the limitation to the kind of products that we use to construct homes. Nigeria here is mainly cement, big cement, whereas there are products elsewhere that you can have styrofoam in between certain panels, and it's stronger than cement even, and much cheaper, and all of that. So we have not had enough creativity in the mix. Most typical American homes, the separations inside are dry walls, and the very, you know, here everything is boom, 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 cement, and so it builds up to much bigger costs. So I think that developers need to become more creative. Even homeowners need to become less, what's the word, condescending at products other than cement. It's a cultural thing. We're used to cement as it. So when you see a dry wall separating rooms and stuff like that, you go, this is not quality housing. Whereas you could significantly reduce the cost of the housing unit by going to alternative products.
Interesting. I'll take this as our last question before we allow you go, sir. Akinshola Olumide is asking a question. He said, a profound privilege to listen to Professor Pat Utomi. He said his question is, why isn't there a good synergy between government and real estate companies for food out in their estates? And then maybe I should add that what can be done to improve that?
Yeah. It is not peculiar to the real estate business. It's almost every aspect of enterprise. And it is because of a certain development. You see, if I go into the philosophy of how government evolved, that would take us a very long time. So I don't maybe not go into that. But you see, in Europe, government evolved out of rich people trying to create a platform for adjudicating their interests. They already made money. In Nigeria, colonials who created this thing were about to leave, and they just found some people and say, okay, you take over. So those people then started using that to make money. So it was not the other way around. So governments then began to look down at business and the rest of society. These individuals who became government, so to speak, they were now the masters, rather than what was created to service the interest of these rich people in Europe who had already made their money. So you then find that government is consistently, pardon my English here or my French, a nuisance. Rather than being an aid, a facilitator, because those there are trying to use that authority to extract rent from the system. The biggest risk of doing business in Nigeria is regulatory risk, is the role of government. So how do we manage this? It will take consistent engagement. And this is why things like Nigerian Economic Summit Group and co were created. You have to be active and have an association. What we need in Nigeria are strong institutions. Government, our institutions are very weak. And one of the best conversations around how institutions emerge was offered in 1990 by economists who won a Nobel Prize in economics called Douglas North. In fact, in the 1990 book, Institutions, Institutional Change and Economic Performance, Douglas North makes the argument that institutions evolve from the engagement of interested parties. At first, you want advantage to yourself. But when you struggle to get advantage, then you find tomorrow that your friend is the one whose friends are in government and you are the losing side. And things change again. And all of you come and agree, okay, please, it's better to have a level playing field. So it doesn't matter whether it's your friend or my friend is in government. These boundaries should always be there. That's what an institution is. That's what ultimately leads to economic advance. So in Nigeria, our institutions are very weak. We have not built them up there. And the only way we can build them up is for active players like all of you in the mortgage business to say, look, no, we must agree to some basic rules and then to pressure the system to respect and recognize those boundaries. That's how we'll manage to get that to happen.
Wow, sir, this is worth more than $1 million. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for. I know if we dedicated 2 hours for you alone, I'm sure it's not sufficient to deal with some areas you would love to go into. But sincerely, I do not take this opportunity for granted, and I deeply and deeply appreciate it on behalf of our entire company, LifePaid Group. The million homes you see there, I think I shared a bit about that with you. This is a LifePaid company as well, and we are on a mission. We're on a crusade to providing 1 million homes, and that's why we're pushing this out. Also, not just to educate the market, but also to enlighten some of our colleagues within the industry and see how we can together. This is no one man's job. We need synergy. We need collaboration to be able to make this happen and then turn things around. Thank you so much, Prof. Honestly, I deeply, deeply appreciate your being part of this conference. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir.
It's a great pleasure.
Thank you.
I wish you the best. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll give you a call, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, then. Take care.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye.
Hello, people. I'm sure you've drawn so much value right there. I know Prof, and I know that Prof could speak on and on and on and on. I was in a session with him last night, and I know late into midnight, and I know how deep and how wide Prof is. So please, we'll be going into the next session in this program in our agenda. So please, media director, please can we put up the next agenda, please?
Introducing Debo Adejano, Chairman, Redan, Southwest Nigeria, an astute real estate entrepreneur who heads one of the Nigeria's leading mass housing development company, Realty Point Limited, since 2005. After 8 years of meritorious award-winning sojourn in commercial banking, the company is primarily involved on the supply side of the industry, with a strong presence in real estate development, investment, training or consultancy, marketing syndication, and owns the popular trademark Sack Your Landlord, or Standard Conference of Mediation Advocates, UK trained mediation advocate. Debo is an alumnus of Lagos Business School, having attended the Owner Managers Program in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Debo Adejano.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
Over
my
to
pleasure.
you. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Clement, Oladipo Clement. It's my pleasure to be here at this conference. It's a great pleasure, and really appreciate the honor and opportunity. So I also like to thank Professor Pat. Nice to be listening to him again, and That was a very informative session there. And I want to believe that our participants are already getting loads of information, applicable information that they can work with. Yeah, so the theme of the conference is affordable, acceptable, and accessible housing. Okay, affordable, affordable, acceptable, and accessible housing. So for me, I would like to zero down on things that as regards real estate itself, as regards ownership and all. And so I would like to talk on what I call the wisdom, the 7 wisdom of house ownership. If you put it that way, the 7 wisdom of house ownership. That's what I would like to reduce my talk to. Okay, the 7 wisdom of house ownership. Okay, yeah. So let's go into it. I want to believe that, number one, everyone out there is desirous. At least every sensible person is usually always desirous of owning a piece of property in their lifetime. At least most of the people that I have met, that they have that as a desire to own a piece of property in their lifetime. And I must say that it's a legitimate desire to have. In fact, it's a desire put on us by nature. It's out of our control. Once you are someone of means, or you've thought about life in the way that you should, you definitely are interested in how you can hold a piece of property. So if you have such desires, I want to let you know that it is a very legitimate desire. You deserve it and you should pursue it. So when we talk about affordability, acceptability, and accessibility, we are really, in my own context, talking about what I call appropriateness. Because, like Prof must have shared, affordability is a very relative term when it comes to housing and home ownership. What is affordable to me may be out of the reach of another person, or may be luxury to another person. So affordability and what is affordable to someone else may not necessarily be, what I would consider. This maybe something I consider as very, very undignifying, as it were. However, in the context of housing, there is a definition for housing which takes care of the issue of taking protection from the vagaries of weather, a place to lay your head and rest, security, that provides security and decent human condition, So the issues of taking care of your, waste and all of those things are also considered. So if we look at that way, I then usually talk about what I call appropriateness. So meaning that for everyone, if we talk about what is appropriate for them, then we will be talking about what is their own affordability, what is within their own affordable range, what is within their own accessible range, what then they should be able to, accept as a person. So in that context, then appropriateness is the key thing for most people. Drawing from that, I will lay my 7 wisdom nuggets as it regards real estate. So I would say that, or home ownership or housing ownership. So I would say, number 1, when you think about appropriateness, then you realize that, wait, your first house need not be your last house. When you think about appropriateness and the importance of real estate, the basic nature of real estate, the fact that, like I started with, it's your legitimate right to desire to own real estate. In fact, it is not just that it's your legitimate right, it's a nature-given right That is why it is the social contract that every government has with its citizens to provide them shelter, either by way of social or by way of mortgage or by way of having an enabling structure. It is a social right. Okay, so if it is that basic, if housing is that basic, it is amongst the, if you look at it in the broad sense of shelter, it is one of the three basic needs of man: food, clothing, shelter. Okay, if it is that basic, and like I say, if something is that basic, you don't address it with temporary measures. Sometimes, sincerely, renting, you can start from there, but it's not the overall solution. It's a temporary measure to the issue of housing. So when you want to solve the issue of housing and you are thinking of appropriateness, then you must realize the fact that your first house need not be your last house. And that speaks to the issue of size. Size. What size is appropriate for you per time? Size and your phase in life. So as someone that is just coming up in life, I've read the stories of a lot of people. Now, for example, there's this man that I currently, stumbled on and read the story. In Nigeria, Prince Yemisi Shillong, some of us may know him. Okay, he's a very renowned investment person, an engineer really, and worked in Nigerite, UAC group and all of that. He never really owned a business of his own as it were, okay, but was constantly aware of his financial intelligence and investing and all of that over time, such that not too long ago, I think last year or so, he donated to Pan Atlantic University a Galleria, art gallery that is worth 4 billion naira. 4 billion naira. So the man is a billionaire. But hear what he said. That man said when he finished, I think his MBA, if I'm not mistaken, he was so young then, was still in marketing, maybe he was already a marketing manager or marketing director in Nigeria or so. His first house was that he bought 2 plots of land in a Jigbo part of Lagos. If you know a Jigbo part of Lagos, you know that for a man of his status now, a Jigbo should not be of any importance or significance. But that is now. At that time, a Jigbo was probably where he could afford if he wanted 2 plots and he built a block of flat or 4 blocks of flat, maybe 2 blocks or 4 flats each. Okay? He built it there way back then. Of course, he has gone on to own other properties in his life. So I tell people that, hey, look, your first house need not be your last house. So what you should do is ensure that you are getting into something that is appropriate for you. Because a lot of people get screwed up when it comes to owning properties because they are dreaming of this house that they want to build that must have a very large sitting room, very large dining room, very large dining area, very large kitchen, must have guest room like about 2 guests because they can have guests anytime. They plan for their unborn kids, so they need to have like about 4 rooms in the house for the children, and then they are planning to have helps, they are planning to have drivers, and so they are planning this house that is like about 7 rooms in all. And this is his first house. So because that cost is enormous, he starts to push that dream. He starts to say, hey, maybe I should do this later on. No. If you think about appropriateness and timing, and knowing that housing is important and it should be addressed as soon as possible, you want to then look at what you need per that time. So you say, hey, since this is my first house and it will not be my last, so never approach housing as if you want to buy a house or you want to build a house or you want to participate in a housing scheme and you are approaching it as if, no, this is my last house. You are approaching it as if, let me just do this and I know that I've crossed the house, I've ticked the house box. No, don't do that to your housing career. Rather, look at appropriateness. So tell yourself, okay, fine. So I am with my family now. I probably am expecting, so if I get like 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom, bungalow or 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom flats is okay for me right now. I don't need all of those excesses. I need a place for my room. I need a place to read, a place to sit down, a place to maybe sleep. And for my sitting area, so you will cut your sizes, because at the end of the day, cost comes in construction per square meter. For every additional size, or for every additional space you add to a building project, you are increasing the cost. So I say that, look, the wisdom about house ownership is that your first house need not be your last. So do what you can afford now, because you dream to be able to do some other things later. Start from Ejigbo now. It doesn't mean that you can't live, you can't end up in Ikoyi, you can't end up in Banana Island. But if Ejigbo is all you can afford right now, if Ikotun is what you can afford right now, if 1 million homes is what you can achieve right now, you are better get on it. If flats is what you can achieve right now, don't say, no, I want to have, my house should be like in the middle of a land that is as big as a football field. You can end up with that. But you see, what will even ensure that you end up with that is that you are starting right. And starting right is starting at your size per time. So whatever you have right now, lock it down in that property, lock it down in that transaction right now, and do what they call buy forward. Okay, buy forward, so you can end up in Ikoyi later. And why you are ending up in Ikoyi later is because you have tied something down now. Never be part of those people that would say, I want to, because I stay in Ikorodu, I stay in Ikoyi right now, or I stay in Surulere right now, or I stay in Ikeja right now, or I stay in Ogba right now, I stay in Bagada right now. Also, my first house or my house, I want it to be in Bagada. If you can't afford Bagada now, settle for what you can afford right now. You can end up later in Bagada or even beyond Bagada, but tie it down now. That is even what will prove that you can end up there. So that's number one wisdom, okay? Your first house need not be your last. So don't be about a big house. No, just do something per time, per your size. Then you don't have to live. You don't have to live where in your first house. You don't even have to live in any of your own properties. That's the truth. You don't have to. But you see, the important thing is that in the scheme of things, in the structure of wealth, property cannot be missing. I want to repeat that. In the structure, the makeup of wealth configuration, net worth configuration, property cannot be missing. So because property cannot be missing in the makeup of wealth configuration, you want to ensure that you continue to improve on what you call your net worth. So you do what? You tie down a property. You may not be able to live there for whatever reason, because a lot of people say, I don't want to buy in so and so place, maybe Ikorodu or in Songo or Ta, or in, I'm mentioning some of these far-flung places, or in Igbesa or in Mowe or in this and that, simply because I cannot live there. Why can't I live there? Oh, I work on the island. And I totally agree with you that yes, you work on the island, and it does not make any sense at all for you to actually go and buy a property or go and live in Mowe. But guess what? If that is all you can afford right now, what I'm saying, the wisdom I'm sharing with you is that go ahead and secure that property there in Mowe. Get a tenant there. You don't have to be there, because why? I mean, it will not help. It will affect your state of well-being. I understand that, because the stress you go through to get to work and all of that. I understand all of that. But put a tenant in that property and stay in another rented property that makes sense for your social life, okay? For your existence, healthy existence, well-being, okay? I understand that. But if Mowe is what you can afford, if Besa is what you can, if Ikorodu is what you can afford, any of the life page options, if it is what you can afford, but you cannot live there, go ahead and tie it down. Okay, go ahead and pick it up. That's wisdom. Never say that no until I can now do this. No, because you don't have to live there. You don't have to live there. There are people who, for example, own properties in places that it is the property that they use to pay their own rent where they are. I've seen a family, okay, and this was what jolted me into this reality and into this wisdom. Some years way back, maybe over 10 years now, I witnessed the, will I say, eviction of a family. And I saw their things being thrown right on the street by the bailiff of court. And from the things that they were bringing out of that house, you could see that this family once were well off from the kind of things they were bringing out of the house, because those things were a bit old, but they used to be owned by people that were well off at the time. Do you understand? So it shows that at the time, the head of this house, or this family at least, was commanding some reasonable wealth, and they could have tied something down somewhere. This was happening in Ikeja, main eyebrow Ikeja area. I mean, the Okpebi side of Ikeja. And their things were thrown out in the rain. In the rain. Do you know the funniest thing? The man of the house was not even around, and the family had nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere. It took a good Samaritan to pay for 2 days of their stay in an hotel, just for them to be able to sort out themselves and distribute children everywhere and try to reconstruct their lives. There was a time in that family's life that they could probably have tied something down in the Ikorodu, but maybe somebody said in the family that, Ikorodu, no, we that we stay on Okpebi, how can we go and stay in the Ikorodu? No, we can't do that. If we are looking for something in Ikeja, until things turned the other way, and they could not even afford rent in Ikeja. Guess what would have happened if they now have something in Ikorodu? They would have, at least since they've been getting that harassment, since the things have been getting bad like that, it won't get that bad. They will have evicted their tenant in Ikorodu, and worst case, moved their things over to Ikorodu. They would never have witnessed a day where their things were thrown on the road in the rain. So I say that there is wisdom in learning to pick and tie down your property. So that's number 2. You need not live in your house, in your first house, or in any of your properties. You need not live there. They can be contributing to your rent. You can be picking up rent from your own tenant to pay your own rent wherever you choose to live, provided you are still applying the appropriateness, theory that I shared earlier. You'll be fine. But you see, you cannot see any wealthy person without real estate in the portfolio. So very, very important. Very, very important. Number 3, landlord and tenant. They are two distinct and different status. One cannot be confused and should not be confused for the other. As far as the earth is from the heavens or sky, that is our landlord status is far from a tenancy status. They are not the same. I used to give this analogy. If you go to a sporting competition and you are awarded medals, okay, first 3 people are recognized. They will give the first person gold. They will give the second person silver. They will give the third person bronze. No amount of bronze can equate one silver. They can never, on the table, on the chart of medals, they will never say, okay, because this country or this house, sporting house, has 50 bronze, so that is equal to 1 silver. So this person who has just 1 silver out of the competition cannot be ahead of them in ranking, because these other people, they had 50 bronze medals. No, nobody does that. Bronze is different from silver. Gold is different from silver. Okay, so status, the landlord status is different from the tenant status. If you are, like I used to also say, if you are a tenant, okay, if you are a tenant in a 5-bedroom duplex on a street, and there is a landlord that only managed to be able to put together a room self-contained on his land, guess what? When they are having the meeting of landlords, guess what will happen? The tenant can never be found there. Never. In fact, if it's found there, maybe his landlord sent him to represent him by proxy, and he must get the consent of his landlord to be able to vote or say anything in that place, because if he implicates his landlord, he can get quick notice. But the guy that manages to build a self-contained on his land can even be the chairman of that association. Whether he has a big house on his land or a small house is immaterial. He's a landlord. Gold is gold. Silver is silver. Tenancy is a wasting asset. Also, you know that in building wealth, one major place you start from and you are also measured by is what is called net worth. Your net worth. Your net worth is simply the determination of what you own, the things you have, okay? And the things you owe, you are owing people. Subtract what you owe from what you own. The remaining is your net worth, okay? The remaining is your net worth. Now, in the equation of that wealth, in wealth building, housing constitutes major component of people's net worth. If I'm paying 100,000 towards owning a property, versus I'm paying 100,000 towards a tenancy, guess what happens? At the end of 1 year, do you know what happens? As paying for a property is not just that I have 1.2 million on that property. No. If that property has appreciated, I would have appreciation of on my 1.2, so that my 1.2 may be worth actually 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, depending on how much appreciation has come on that investment. But if I was paying it on my rent and they say my rent is 1 year, do you know that at the end of the year, I'm back to square zero? My net worth regarding that transaction is zero because it's a wasting asset. I've used it up in 1 year. But the one I'm paying towards ownership, the value is appreciated. Not just that I have that money, but value is even climbing, is appreciating. So that is the wisdom you need to have. A tenant and a landlord, they are not of the same size. So whatever size you can afford, go get it because it can add to your net worth. Then on that point, lastly, I say that, hey, look, I'm sharing 7 tips. Like I said, I think I'm through with 3. Just the last thing on this third one. I said that I've never seen a place, I've never seen it, where somebody was awarded a long-serving tenant award. That, you've been a very good tenant in this property. You've been a tenant for the last 30 years. And for your good behavior and the fact that you pay your rent as at when due, even before it is due, you know, we hereby award you free rent for like 2-3 years, or award you whatever. I've never seen a long-serving tenant award. So why do you want to die in another person's property? Why? Why do you want to? So it is important that, hey, you own a property. You own your own property. It is important that you do that. So that even if you're a tenant in another place, let it be that you also have the landlord side to you. Not just that all and everywhere you are just a tenant. No, that shouldn't be said of you. So there is no long-serving tenant award. Stop being a good tenant. Start to think of how to be a good landlord, because the landlords don't have 2 heads. They only have wisdom. The wisdom are some of the things I'm sharing with you. The wisdom are some of the things Professor Pat has shared with us. The wisdom are some of the things you will still be hearing from other speakers. Okay? Number 4. Look, a lot of times people say, you know, because I would really love to own this property, but I can't afford it. Can you co-own? Can you have people of like minds and come together and own it together? If you can't own it solely, can you own it with other people? Can you crowd own? Can you own a fraction of it? Can you co-own? Whatever name you want to give to it, the whole essence is that, hey, can you share ownership with people? Can you have shared ownership? Because that I have 10% of a property, I am still better off than having 0% than being a good tenant, because a tenancy, like I said, is 0% of 100%. 0 of 100, okay, is definitely, you cannot compare 10% of 100 to 0 of 100, because 10% of 100 in the place of property is so huge. So I say that one other wisdom, the fourth wisdom, is that you can co-own if you cannot own on your own. There are things that govern all of these things to be able to execute them properly. You know, I'm sure some of the lights that a lot of the speakers and all of that will be sharing will point you in those directions. And I'm sure you are on a very good platform. You can always contact Life Page, you can always contact Million Homes, and they will put you aright as to how to properly go through all of this. But you can co-own. Get that straight. So if that flat is going for 25 million naira and you don't have that right now, instead of wasting your 1 million naira away, instead of wasting your 2 million naira away, instead of wasting your 5 million naira away, you can drop your 5 million naira and let there be an arrangement for other people that will raise 20 million, and all of you, the number of you, are put together in a very workable structure to own that apartment together. Guess what? As that apartment appreciates, you can, from that apartment, maybe selling your interest there later in the future, go buy a whole property with that proceed. That's how to buy forward. It's part of how to buy forward, okay? So that's number 4. That's number 4. I'm mindful of time. Number 5, okay? You need to realize that, look, if you desire a good life for yourself, now that you are still working and when you retire, the issue of housing is something you have to resolve as soon as possible. You know why? One of the reasons I give people is that, look, if there are things that don't mix together, water and oil, retirement and having obligation of rent payments that has to come from your sweat when you are no longer able to sweat as much as you should, you know, in retirement, they don't mix. We manage a lot of properties, okay? And if you talk to people who are in the real estate industry, who manage properties a lot, like Life Page people and co, they will tell you that where they have retirees as tenants is always a problem for the retirees to meet up with rent. It's always a problem. A lot of times, some of the retirees we have come across, a lot of times, because that happens a lot in this part of the world, their children are part of their retirement plan. In fact, they are their main retirement plan. So it is their children that pay their rent. And so rents get delayed. In fact, usually, most agents would really hesitate to have a retiree that they are not able to assess his financial well-being as a tenant in their property. And you see what happens to a lot of retirees. A lot of them move to the village, not because they so much love the village, but because they can no longer afford the rent obligation in town when they stop working. But if they've secured property somewhere, they will be able to move there. So one thing you must solve before you retire, like I usually advocate, is that you must solve the issue of home ownership. Home ownership, because rent and retirement, they don't mix together. They don't mix together. So every opportunity you have to explore and make sure that you resolve that issue, please ensure that you explore, okay, and resolve that issue. Number 6. Number 6. Money is the very last thing. Money is the very last thing you need to own a property. Money is the very last thing. Money is the very least obstruction now to your owning a property. Remember I said I'm sharing some wisdom, some nuggets. You need to really brood on these 7 points. Of course, there are more than 7, but for the purpose of this conference, I'm just sharing 7 of them. You need to really brood on these points, okay, to be able to make a headway regarding your house ownership or property investment or things like that. A lot of people, when I remember when in my first life, you know, my other life or whatever, you know, work life, I mean, I used to work in the bank. I used to be a banker. And when I left banking and I started real estate, a lot of people that they will ask me, so Debo, what do you do right now? And I say, well, I'm a real estate developer and stuff like that. The first impression they have is that, Baba don't get money. You know, Baba don't, no, Baba don't deck, Baba day. That's why Baba, they do real estate now. Now, real estate is for big people now. Man, Debo, you've come into money. If they knew that the real estate company that I now run for over 15 years started with 0 kobo of mine. I mean, ZERO, 0. If they knew. And that's why I tell people that, hey, you can do real estate investment starting with no money, no experience. Very possible. So money in owning property is the least challenge you have. If anybody comes to me now and they say, I'm desirous of owning a property, but you see, there is this money challenge I have, I know that they've not gotten it. They've not gotten it yet. Hey, look, let me tell you, 3 major things you need to own a property. 3 major things you need to start investing in real estate. 3 major things, regardless of what money you have or what experience you have. Number 1, you need a burning flame desire. Yes, red hot desire. Desire that can keep you awake. Desire that won't make you sleep, that can give you restlessness. Desire that, a burning desire. You need a burning desire. That's what you need. Desire that will push you into action. Not the one that will make you sit down and be asking questions and be looking for who will solve problem for you. Desire that will make you go to the street and get things done. Desire that will make you read books. Desire that will make you explore. Come for this kind of conference. Put down your notes as things are coming on. Desire that will make you follow up on things that you are learning right now and make you see how you can put them to work. That is the number 1 thing you need to own a property. So I tell you, hey, you want to be part of the 1 million homes that Million Homes are putting out? Just get the claim, okay? Life Page, whatever their products are, get the criteria from them and go get yourself some desire to be part owner, to be full owner, to be sole owner of any of those options that they have. Because you know what desire does for you? That kind of burning flame desire, it pushes you to start acquiring knowledge. Yes. So you start to find out, how can this thing be done? Very simple. How can this thing be done? How did all these people do it? I've seen people. Okay, so I used to share my brother's experience, my own very junior blood brother. Junior to me. He served with us in our organization. It was a youth corper. As a youth corper, we have this slogan that we share, and is our brand slogan. Sack your landlord. It's our trademark. So, and we go about teaching people how to sack their landlord, how to own your property. You are not too young to own a property and all of that, and all the earlier the better and things like that. I didn't know that this guy was listening. Youth corper, then they were not paying youth corper 19,000. I think it was still lower. They were paying them. I don't know what they are paying them now. And then we used to pay him maybe 10,000 or something for working with us. Do you know that by the time this guy completed his youth service, he already owned his first land? And that wasn't the only land. He already owned the first land before he finished serving, and went on to own another and own another. Then sold one of them. By the time this guy was getting married, he left his wedding reception, into his house, his own apartment. That was where he did his honeymoon. He didn't go to any hotel. He did his honeymoon in his, I think, self-contained. Yes, he had 2 wings. He completed the other wing later. So he had 1 wing, self-contained, one bedroom, that's a room and a sitting, and all the toilet, kitchen, and all of that. He completed it in his own house, and that was where he went to have his honeymoon. Because this guy was listening to us, he was fired up. So as a youth corper, of course, he went on rampage with that desire. Just consuming every material he could get and executing voraciously, such that he owned his first house. Okay? He owned his first house before he got married, such that from his wedding reception, he was going to his house with his wife. So you don't need money. What does a youth corper, how much does a youth corper earn? How much was a youth corper earning then? How much do they still earn now? So stop all of these excuses. I don't have money. I don't get a desire, get desire. Okay? And then let that desire get you to work to start getting knowledge. That's number 2. Number 3, you will then get yourself massive action. You then go take massive steps, massive action, dangerous action if possible. Do you understand? Actions that if they tell you yourself, you will be scared and think that, was I on something that, yes, you were on desire. Desire is a drug. You know, energy is a drug. It drives you. Okay? So you go take massive action. Because with desire, knowledge, and action, you cannot be stopped. The money will come. Yes, I tell you, you will figure out. What happens is that you will figure out how the money will come. And money does not come to people sitting down. Money comes to people that are in active labor. Yes, it is people that are on the streets, that are in the field. Like Yorubas, they say something like Igbelowa, that is, it's in the bush that you find money. Or some people will say Enokiniulowa, as in, it is in the money, is in the wealth, it's in the mouth of the lion. And you know, if you must get into the mouth of the lion, you definitely must have some boldness, and you must be someone that is really, really passionate and active about what it is that you want to do. And nobody goes to a lion's den without knowledge, without harming himself. Do you understand? So those 3 things are just all you need. No money at all. So get that wisdom. You need knowledge, you need desire. It will drive you into knowledge, and then start taking massive action on the things that you discover and you get to know. Okay? Then I'll probably drop the 7th one, which will be my final one. For our ladies, the ladies that are watching, this is for you. And I don't mean any harm at all. Okay? So let me say it in 2 ways. Number 1 is that, look, property ownership is not gender biased. It's not the prerogative of the male gender. There is nothing masculine that is not feminine about home ownership or housing or investment owning properties. Sorry. Hope you got me. There is nothing that is masculine. No, housing ownership is gender blind. As the males are having it, so can the females have it. And I love our females these days, really. I mean, I say that they are doing really well right now. Yes. I mean, for the number of them that I see around, there are those of them that have still not gotten it. And I would hope that if anyone like that is attending, they will get some of the knowledge and wisdom that we're sharing here. Okay. So there is not gender sensitive in any way. So it's not gender biased. As a male has it, so can the female also own properties. And nothing says that if you own a property and you are still single, then no man will marry you. In fact, it is the boys that don't have sense, and you don't need anybody that don't have sense. If I were single, part of my criteria, in fact, if I see a lady that owns property and is well off, and the other one that is just doing a hand like this and looking for who will carry a responsibility, my sister, I will go for the one that already has a life together, because I know that when I join forces with that one, we go catch fire better than this one that will become liability, hanging hand like this, and we'll just be buying Brazilian and Peruvian. No, that's not what life is all about. Do you understand? So please go after any sensible man will still run after you, will not have self. The one that has complex, you know, is the one that won't come to you, and you don't need such men in your life. Okay, then the other way I say it also is this, and I would also still appeal that don't get offended in any way. It's not meant to offend you in any way. Okay, and it's not meant to be vulgar or something like that, but it's just that that's the way I think I can pass the message across. Okay, so I also say this. I say, look, ladies, for those of us that have not realized it, property ownership is not sexually transmitted. I don't know if you heard me. You know, property ownership is not sexually transmitted. Yes. The fact that your husband has does not mean you can't have. When you have, it will mean that there are two properties in the family. I'm not saying have it behind your husband's back. No, I'm saying have the desire to have it so that it can also encourage you. And I tell guys, so this is the other side I tell guys before I round up with the ladies' own that I've started talking about. This is the other one that I tell guys. Guys, if you really must own property, if you really must own your house, if you really must invest in real estate, okay? And you are already of marriageable age, you have somebody you are serious, you want to get married to, or you're already married, tell your wife about it, sell her on that dream. If you sell her on that dream, let me tell you what can happen to you. You either own that property or you die. Yes. That's what can happen. You own that property or you die if she's somebody of sense. Because women are multipliers. Yeah. She would make sure that you own this, that we own this property. That's it. I mean, if you have the right ones, and there are a lot of right ones, then she will make sure that you own that property. That's it. Until you own that property, you won't rest. Do you understand? She will help you achieve it. So for the ladies, that the husband owns something does not mean you cannot. It's not sexually transmitted. My husband has property in Banana Island. What part did you play there? If you play a very good part, you may not just have one property in Banana Island. You may be having two right now. You may be having three. So don't think that because you are the wife, now property is now sexually transmitted. Ownership. I'm not that lady. No, madam. So these are the 7 wisdoms that I have to share. I hope that it has benefited someone. Thank you very much. Mr. Oladipupo Clement, it's an opportunity. God. Thank you.
Mr. Debo, thank you so much. You know, the whole social media is gone agog. YouTube is on fire right now. Somebody is saying you are hot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love pleasure. This perspective. I mean, this is just mind-blowing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We want to, because we are very conscious of time. I'm usually the type of person who would want to engage you right now, but we are bound by time. Attention span is very low when you are like this. So we have to see how quickly we can take as much questions. So please, should you have any question, feel free to drop your questions right away so that we can engage. Thank you so much, Mr. Debo. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Welcome. This is You're welcome. This also, I'm seeing social media everywhere is on fire, and I was like, what's going on here? People are already chatting me. People are calling me. I'm calling. You know, it's like, where did you get this man from? Wow, this is really hot.
Thank you very much.
Really hot. And by the way, for those of you who may not know, Mr. Debo Adejana is the Professor Pat was talking about, having an association, a real estate association that can engage government so that government can play their part in the housing market or the real estate space. And interestingly, Mr. Debo Adejana is the chairman for Southwest on the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. That's the body of real estate developers in Nigeria, and is the chair for the Southwest region, captures Lagos, Oyo, all those southwestern states. And it's a great honor to have him here, share with us these 7 powerful nuggets. I'm expecting that questions will drop, and so you can now understand why he's the chairman. You now understand. So this is really very good. Very good.
Thank you.
I'm expecting questions. Media director, can you please let the questions roll? Let the question roll. Do we have any questions quickly? Amazing stuff. Maybe by the time we're done with this question and answer, we'll bring in the Head of Million Homes to just quickly give us some quick understanding, especially on creative financing. Mr. Debo mentioned to us right now that money is the last thing that will hold you back when it comes to property acquisition. And I love that vulgar hat, that property ownership is not sexually transmitted. I love that line. It's a very powerful line. I'll start to re-echo that now. All right.
Yeah,
Somebody's
thank you.
already asking a financial something related to economy. He says, with the economic situation of things in the nation now, how can someone be able to get the desire going to get his first house? That's the question somebody's asking. Can you answer that, sir?
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you. I don't know if the name is there, Mr.
Olarewaju Atoyebi.
Yes, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Atoyebi. Now, please, let me say something here that can help everyone. When we see a situation like this, money has not disappeared. I hope you know that. So when people say things like in the current situation, in the current economy, I hope you know that this is the best time for some people in their whole lifetime.
Absolutely.
I was in a session with some of the guys that I mentored yesterday, and one of them, a lady, I mean, we knew we were having a course with them when Corona stuff broke out in Nigeria and there had to be a lockdown. And I knew how she started talking about sanitizer, that she makes sanitizer. The lady was saying that the money she made, not all the money, part of the money she made from sanitizer, about maybe 3 million or so, she has already used it to move her property in Delta to a particular level in this period. So she made an extra 3 million that she wouldn't have made but for
the
COVID.
crisis. Yeah.
So there are people that this is the best time of their life. What you need to do is to find out, money just changed location. Money changed address,
Absolutely.
moved house. You can just see it as if money used to live in Surulere. Money now went to Ikeja. All you have to do is take a bus to Ikeja. So look for what? Yeah, look for. So what are people now? This is the problem that people have. People are fixated on the naira note or the paper note, the dollar note. Money is about value. Okay, so when there is an economy situation like this, what people value has just changed. So just provide what they now value. And you won't have to be talking about the economic situation. A lot of companies like LifePage and Co., they know what they have had to do at this season to remain afloat and in business. Do you understand? They've had to strategize and ask themselves, okay, so how do we satisfy people in this? What will be the need of people in this thing that we play right now? And they offer it. You'll be shocked that this event you are having is part of the outcome of that kind of a session. Do you understand? So, and that is it. So please don't get carried away. Just if you are not seeing money, change what you are doing. What I mean by change what you are doing is, it could be what you are doing, it could be how you are doing it, it could be the measure to which you are doing it, or things like that. What I'm saying is, start to ask questions and find out where has value gone to, and go look for it and create it. And I mean, this is the best time of some people. So please don't talk about government is doing this. Don't talk about economy is doing this. Take responsibility. When you take responsibility, that's what I talk about. Absolutely. Desire. That's when I talk about desire. Desire drives you to all of these things. Okay, so that's the angle I would attend to that question.
Thank you so much. That's a brilliant answer. I don't need to add anything else. Prosperity of any nation, of any family, of any individual lies in providing what people can't do without. People's preferences, desires are changed, the direction of money is changing. You would notice that in spite of the economic situation, in spite of whether you have lost your job or you have a job, nobody needs a degree to spend money. Expenses is a regular feature in everybody's life. Whether you are graduate or undergraduate, whether you are employed or unemployed, you will still have to expend money, and somebody is taking the money, whether you made enough or not. So you have to start to provide what people are really looking for. Thank you so much for that. That's brilliant.
You're welcome.
I saw Adedotun, I beg your pardon. I saw Adedotun Olabode. She's asking, says, how do one depict real estate companies that go all out to get people pay for property without delivering on their contract? Yeah, that's the question from Edson.
Okay, by depict, probably you're saying, how do you detect, how do you know, or how do you handle such situations?
Yeah.
I want to assume. Okay, so fine. Yeah. I tell people that before you either start selling for someone or you buy property, you know, there are two types of investors. People who buy properties. There are two types of investors. Like I teach, there is what you call responsible investor and irresponsible investor. Now, a lot of people want to stay in the irresponsible investment zone. Why? Because they feel that it provides a way of escape for them to be able to blame a third party if things goes gaga. So you see situations where you are telling someone, I'm assuming if this person is an agent for one company or the other, for example, you are seeing a situation in which you are telling someone, this is our estate and blah, blah, blah. Come on, inspection is this is terms of conditions. You say, don't worry, all of this. Maybe it's you, Debo. I know you, don't worry. And you say, no, I'm buying it because I know you, I trust you. Oh, guys, it's not about trust now. There is a structure. Won't you even just read and know about what you are buying, ask questions that you are not clear about so that we can provide answers, okay? That's why for me, I love people who ask questions before they buy. Why? Because I know once they buy, they've bought. But see, those people that say, Debo, I trust you, I fear them. Because when the things that we've written in black and white comes up, that we said, okay, so there will be, after paying for this land now, you will make payment for documentation, you will make payment for survey, you will make payment for infrastructure. I'm just explaining this, you know. Then they paid for land because in their mind, in the psyche of every man, once you pay for land, they think they paid for everything. So you now say that, okay, it's time to pay for. He says, so when am I going to get that? I say, you've not paid for documentation. Which one is it? You people have come again. But I trusted you now. This, and they say, hidden charges. It's not hidden, except that it was hidden from you because you refused to read. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't even in fine print. It was there. It was on website. It was on document. It was on flyer. It was everywhere. When people advertise and they say terms and conditions apply, as a responsible investor, the question you ask is, where are these terms and conditions? Let me go through them. Let me be able to satisfy myself that I agree with them. And if I don't have, if I have any issue, let me ask and then seek clarity. And if I'm clear, I go ahead. So please encourage your investors to be as responsible as possible so that they can ask questions and all. Because at the end of the day, irresponsible investment does not even pay anyone. Because guess what? Even if you get your money back, you will have lost time, you will have lost energy, you will have dissipated unnecessary energy, you know, in going after that. Meanwhile, you could have avoided and prevented that if you had taken responsibility for your investment ab initio. That's number one. Number two, for companies, look out for companies' structure. Look out for companies' setup. Look out for companies' pedigree. You understand? Look out for companies' integrity. Do you understand? Look out for their track record. You know, don't just do business with every Tom, Dick, and Harry because somebody carries. Look, everybody knows where they print things in Shomolu, and the best designers would only take money. They don't take. They don't go and yefawo or go to church to pray whether they should do business with you. If I have money to engage the best graphic, the best video, the best what do they use now? A lot of times, influencers, okay, or ambassador. If I have money to pay the biggest ambassador and all of that, they will appear on my poster. My billboard will be everywhere because I have money. It does not say anything about the fact that I know about the business. I can deliver what I'm promising, or that what I'm even promising is genuine. I could be fraudulent and be doing all of those things. So it is for you that want to sell for that company or want to buy from that company to do your due diligence and be sure of the kind of mate you are getting into bed with. Okay, so they are easy. For example, we are talking about association. They are not in any association. Their structure is just one man running the show. It doesn't even have as simple as, yes, he wants to own it as an entrepreneur 100%, no problem. But it doesn't have as simple as advisory board that he listens to. You say, who are your auditors? He just calls one guy that he can tell what to do. Your company secretary, he does not have. He's the chief, he's the group MD of everything. that kind of a person is a dangerous thing, is a dangerous person, because nobody is an island. We all don't know it all.
Yeah.
We all don't know it all. So if I don't surround myself with a system, a structure that can help me continue, I'm not building my business. There are businesses, and it's beyond real estate. There are businesses that if their owner should step aside or be taken aside for one reason or the other, that business cannot be opened the very next day.
Absolutely.
They cannot open shop the very next day.
Absolutely.
Because of so you don't do business with that kind of, because you know that your business is in jeopardy. So that's why I would. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, this is so phenomenal. Thank you so much. I mean, if I have drawn value, I can imagine what will be happening on the other side, and it's evident all over the place. Thank you so much, Mr. Debo.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm going to certainly reach out to you again. We need to talk. We need to talk some other things.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so
Yes,
much. Thank
yes,
you for
You're welcome.
honoring our invitation. We deeply appreciate
You're welcome.
you. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure too. You're welcome.
All right,
Take care,
people. We won't be able to take further questions because we have the final leg tonight. And before we do that, get ready, because if these first two sessions are this hot, I wonder what the last session final speaker would look like. So you need to get ready. Whatever it is that you're doing, if you know anyone who is not part of this program right now, you need to tell them to join in. And just in case you didn't hear me earlier, you need to follow us at Million Homes AFR, Million Homes AFR on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook, and you'll be glad you did. More importantly, also, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Live Page Group. Just go on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube right now, just click on the subscribe button right now and make sure you subscribe. I'm expecting the next person on the agenda to come on stage. So please follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Million Homes AFR. All right, so there's a lot that we need to share. Let's invite the MD for Million Homes AFR as he shares a few thoughts with us before we bring in our final speaker and our major speaker for tonight. Please get ready and pay attention to these pieces of information.
Be what you want to be. Achieving your dreams has never been easier, faster, and smarter. Select any of our Million Homes investment plans and earn amazing returns.
Million Homes Flex. Invest a minimum of 10.
Be what you want to be. Achieving your dreams has never been easier, faster, and smarter. Select any of our Million Homes investment plans and earn amazing returns.
Million Homes Flex. Invest a minimum of 10,000 Naira monthly for a duration of 1 to 5 years and earn up to 20% compounded return on investment.
Million Homes Hedge. Invest a minimum of 100,000 Naira for 1 and 2 years and earn 21% and 47% returns on investment respectively.
Million Homes Premium. Invest a minimum of 10 million Naira for 3 years and earn 75% returns on investment in cash.
Million Homes Premium Plus. Here, you invest a minimum of 50 million Naira and earn 60% returns in cash and 40% in assets. That is, apartment. Wow!
Growing your cash has never been so simple.
To subscribe, log on to millionhomesafrica.com. Create an account, choose your preferred investment option, select your number of slots and make payment. Please do well to follow us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at Million Homes AFR. Our phone line remains 090-6000-5737 or 090-6000-5747. Our email millionhomes@lifepagegroup.com. million homes. Live here.
or make it fund your living.
All right. So, Mr. Ajilore Francis, please can you proceed with your session?
Wow.
I think you have just a few minutes. Yeah. So over to you now.
Yeah, so excited to be part of this tonight. Mr. Debo have done a fantastic job, and but one good thing is it's really not about what you hear; it's more about decisions you take. Most of us have written comments, hyping the whole thing, but now it's time to take decision. Briefly, I'll be talking about creative financing towards home ownership, towards your own home ownership. So, but before I do that, I will, an advert popped up just before I came up here, and I want to dwell on that. I just want to pick up a few things, hit the nail on a few things. Number one, we kicked off an offer known as 60 Days Bounty, Independence Bounty offer that started from October 1st. And time is ticking. Today is 10th. 10 days have gone already. Smart investors, people who believe more in decisions, who talk less, who write less, but take decisions, have all started keying in. I'm encouraging you. It's appearing on the screen. Subscribe with a minimum of 100,000 naira, and you stand a chance to win an all-expense paid to Dubai. You have a chance to win a 2-bedroom apartment. You have an opportunity to go to end the year with a car. You have an opportunity to have your home furnished, so you don't have an excuse. Like I said earlier on, I'll be talking more about creative financing. And one of the things that's critical about creative financing towards your home ownership is what you need is what you need. What you need is what you need. It's not more currency. It's not more cash. What you need is what you need. But I would still like to talk about a whole lot of opportunities that we are bringing your way all through this month of October for the next 60 days. That's till November 30th. Amazing opportunity, amazing offer. Like Mr. Debo talked earlier on, it was as good as he spying into my own note as well, or whether I did spy into his own, But the truth is, if you can't own, you can't afford to build a house of your own. He said your first house doesn't have to be your last. Your dream house doesn't also have to be your first home. Just move. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Just ensure that you keep moving. So, and one of the unique things that I have come to find out is people who take small steps find it easy to take bigger steps along the line. So if you can't invest 10,000 naira in Million Homes Flex, it's going to be difficult for you to invest 100 million naira. It's going to be difficult for you to invest 5 million naira. It starts with that little decisions you take from time to time. So Million Home Flex could be for, he gave an illustration of a copper who, after service, was able to own a house of his own. He was able to own a land, and from there he migrated to developing a property of his own, and he could marry and move into such kind of facility. So if your excuse is, I don't even have 100,000 naira, they are saying minimum to qualify for the Independence Bounty offer is 100,000 naira. But all you can afford at the moment is 10,000 naira monthly. You can key into that. It's as good as you developing your muscles. So I will leave that at that. Then you have Million Homes Edge. You have Million Homes Edge. Your 100,000 naira may not even be able to buy you a quarter plot where you want to earn rental income or generate returns on investment. But you can begin that journey by saying, I'm depositing 100,000. I am buying 2 slots. I'm buying 5 slots. And one critical thing I'd like to mention here is the fact that you see a copper doing 5 slots with 500,000 naira, but the copper is a single. His expenses are relatively lower than yours. Doesn't mean that, at least they've said the minimum is 100,000 naira, which is 1 single slot. Your future expenses should influence what you should invest in. What drives you should be different should be based on your own expectation, the kind of luxury lifestyle you want to live, your current expenses and your future expenses should be the yardstick, should be the determining factor to that will influence the kind of investment, the kind of vehicle of investment you should consider too. So Million Homes Edge gives you an opportunity to make as much as 21% returns on investment in 1 year. If you build a house for 50 million or 30 million, is it possible that you, in 1 single year, that you get rental income of 21%? Impossible. Impossible. Outrightly impossible. So, as a matter of fact, I tell people it will take you an average of maybe 6 months to even develop, put that infrastructure in place, let alone when you want to, before we start counting, when you want to start earning the returns on investment. So it is advisable that you key into opportunities like this and let the moment your money drops in, it starts counting. Except for the fact that we have a flexible arrangement that allows you pay, so that allows you pay for up to 5 months. So let's assume your plan is to do ₦1 million and you don't have the ₦1 million at hand, cash. It is expected that you can do 200,000 naira, spreading it for a maximum period of 5 months. At the end of 5 months, it finally becomes ₦1 million. With that, you have already keyed into an opportunity that is working for you. You can say, okay, in the next 1 year, I'm expecting, I have my expectation that as to what you're looking up to getting. So the next we have is Million Homes Premium. This allows you invest as little as 10 million. I said little because one, like Mr. Debo said, that affordability is relative. So for me, 10 million is very, very, very affordable to quite a number of us. And like I said, it's also a function of the kind of returns you are expecting. So if you expect an average income of the kind of offer that we have that gives you as much as 75% return on investment, then you can key into that. It lapses, it's valid, it runs for a period of 3 years. And in 3 years, you are 75% richer. You are 75% richer. You get both your capital, which is the principal, and your returns on investment, and you are better for it. So for whatever reason, for whatever objective you have to achieve in the next 3 years, you could say, okay, let me channel my resources in this direction. Since these people are doing a whole lot of great things, we are currently about rounding up a project in Orange Apartments, amazing infrastructure, global standard, and all of that. But you may not be able to even buy a quarter of land with 10 million naira in that estate, but you could be part of people who have created value, societal value, you have become one of people who create social impact, social value. You know, it's not just about the return on investment. And like I often tell people, it's not just about the return on investment, the discipline to stay aside, to step aside and allow your money work for you, rather than you running up and down, is the biggest reward you get from investment, from any form of investment, especially in real estate. So with a minimum of 10 million naira, you can key into our Million Homes Premium and get amazing 75% returns in cash alongside your principal at maturity. Also, we have the joker of it all, Premium Plus, Million Homes Premium Plus. This allows you to practically own an asset, get cash returns on investment, and still get your capital back. By so doing, you get 100% returns on investment in 3 years. In 3 years, you get 100% returns on investment. You are wondering, is it really possible? Are these people just hyping and making it easy? We are not just delivering on our promises. 8 years and counting, we have been keeping to all our promises. So I can assure you, it's a fertile ground you're doing, and you can constantly get project updates. You see new projects. So in the next few weeks, we'll be laying foundations for Orange Apartments, Bagada, the Acacia in Lakwe, in different locations, in Lekki, Ikeja, and all of that will be spreading across all of these places. So you could be part of the solution in the housing deficit that we have in this country. Statistics or no statistics, all of that doesn't concern you. What we are more concerned about is providing solution. Identifying problem is not a peculiar skill, doesn't come with special reward. Our ability to solve the problem is what gives us our own share of the reward as well. So we need to begin to position ourselves. So with a minimum of 50 million naira, you can own a house valued at 20 million naira in 3 years, get cash return of 30 million naira, and still get your initial capital of 50 million naira. What can be better than this? What can be better than this? Like I said earlier on, it's not about just hearing. It's about the decisions that we take. It's more about the decisions that we take. And Million Homes is availing you amazing opportunity in the next 60 days. And it's going to be a wise decision, smart decision if you key into it. But just before as I leave that to move to the key thing I want to say, I will actually be talking about this from aside from today. So today I'll just be laying the foundation. I'll be speaking on it on the 17th, 24th, and the 31st. I will expand on more about creative financing towards your own ownership. Like I said earlier on, what you need is what you need. You need a house. You need a car. You need a settee. That is what you need. It is not currency. It is not the paper money that you need. So one of the smartest way, Mr. Debo already shared a few of them, but one of the smartest way to do that is to leverage on your network. One thing God has shared consistently is human capital, human resource. We all know someone, but what we do with our resources, with that relationship, with that network, is what makes the whole difference. So I'm sure all of us, almost all of us, if not all, bank. But at one point or the other, if you have a good experience with your bank, you must have referred that bank to a family friend, to colleagues of yours, to have similar experience like you are having. However, the bank doesn't reward you for it. On the other hand, what we are recommending, what we are sharing with you, knowing that a house is what you need, knowing that a car is what you need, knowing that a refrigerator is what you need, knowing that a gas cooker is what you need, knowing that a TV set is what you need, knowing that a home furnishing is what you need to begin to convert those relationships into money. As a matter of fact, somebody who has ability to give you $1 million naira conveniently without having a second thought would not give it to you except you profile value. So your concern should be network. What value can I offer? What value can I offer? What network needs the value I have to offer? The moment you establish these two things, boom, you will be there achieving much more than you could ever imagine. Like I said, I'll be dwelling more on this in the coming days. 17th, mark your dates, your calendars, 17th, 24th, and 31st. I'll be delving more into some of these things so you can end the year on the winning side. You can end the year owning houses. There are people who a few weeks ago during lockdown made excess of 25 million, who were people who were 15 million richer, millionaire richer, people who were who had furnitures, who had gas cooker, who have already qualified for cars in weeks, in months. So you have similar opportunity, and the best thing you could do is to begin to register. Either talk to people who ask you to come attend this event, or you work with the link that will be scrolled, or the links that will be provided on the platform. Just take decisions, take the bold step, begin to act on what you have heard. A lot more will be coming. Take actions, and that's what will put you on the winning side. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francis Ajilore. Thank you so much. That was that's really, really great. So right now we'll be bringing up the last speaker for tonight, but not the least. But before I go on, let me let me establish here that the opportunity to leverage your network to create your own net worth, all right, is something you can quickly take advantage of by logging on tribe.lifepagegroup.com, tribe.lifepagegroup.com. Just click that link and then the rest will be history. I mean, we've had people make some significant, in fact, we've had people who have made as high as 25 million naira just referring people. We have had people made 7 million, 8 million. I mean, significant income that some people have never seen that in a whole year before. And some people have earned an annual salary in just a single transaction. And it can be, and it's not just about the money they made, but the fact that they've also been able to help other people achieve their own goals, achieve their own dreams, and in the process also achieve theirs. That's how life ought to be. And so we want to especially consider this a great opportunity. My mentor, Dr. Olumide Emmanuel, does not require too much introduction because we are pressed with time. I want us to just dive in and bring him in on board to speak to the theme of this year's conference, Mega Housing Summit 2020. All right.
Introducing Dr. Olumide Emmanuel, international motivational speaker. Dr. Olumide Oladapo Emmanuel, popularly known as the Common Sense Guru, is no doubt one of the world's leading relationship experts, motivational speakers, and wealth creation agents. He is a man of multiple grace whose influence spreads across the religious and secular arena with local and international awards to show for it. He is a best-selling author of over 30 books, both from self-published platform and world-renowned publishing houses. His books are well celebrated worldwide, with 8 of them already translated in other languages. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Olumide Emmanuel.
Wow.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. What a summit. You know, it's been a very, very busy day, but I said I must be on by 5:15 to start listening to everybody. So I had to be eating while I was watching the first session, just prepared. It's been loaded. Professor Pat went into some dimension and then Debo came and scattered the ground. Wow, what an amazing summit. You know, when I see summits like this, in my heart, I say, I wish these people are listening. I really hope they are going to do something about it, because you see, 1,000 good intention is not as powerful as one action. I know Debo, you know, I've been involved with him for years when he started out and all. So, and I've been saying it, he's been saying, you have been saying, we have all been saying, why do we still have many people out there that are yet to come into this river? It is my desire and hope that this conference will really set people on fire and they'll begin to do what they need to do. So, well, let me share a few things within the brevity of time that I have. I want to appreciate you once again, and Million Homes. I'm part of the family. I'm grateful to God for what He has done so far, and I hope that people will plug into the opportunity we have now. Million Homes Reloaded, and they begin to invest and plug in. And by the end of the year, we'll see testimonials coming out again. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to speak to the theme of the conference. We're looking at affordable, acceptable, and accessible housing. So I have rearranged it. So I want to talk to you around the theme: affordable housing is acceptable and accessible. Affordable housing is acceptable and accessible. Now, the housing deficit gap is huge. There's no doubt. You know, Professor Pat was talking about, that he spoke to Minister Fashola and was saying, the statistic may be right or wrong. 18 million, 17 million is not, whether it's 2 million or 3 million or 20 million, the housing deficit is huge. And guess what? It is widening. You know why? The population is so, it is said that Lagos, right now, Lagos is around 22 million people. They are trying to do another census that will bring up a lot of revelations again. But by 2050, that is just like 30 years from now, there will be over 50 million people in Lagos. Think about it. So the housing deficit is huge and it is widening. Now, the government is making some efforts. Private sector like LifePage doing something, and all they are doing is commendable. But guess what? It is still a long way out. And that is why we keep trying to motivate and steer up many people to join us, because even if all of you listening to me today become real estate company owners and you go into the real estate sector, we will still not be able to fully solve all the problems. So there is enough room for everybody to come in. Now, when we talk about affordable housing, affordability is relative. Debo already mentioned that, and they came up with what they call appropriateness. You see, affordability is relative. Why do we say affordability is relative? It's relative to a lot of things because we are not on the same level. Number one, affordability is relative due to class and income. Your class and the level of your income determines what is affordable to you. Debo mentioned it already. Because what is okay for one person may look ridiculous to somebody else. And what is ridiculous to somebody else may be a luxury for somebody else. So depending on your income and your class or status in life, affordability is relative. Number two, affordability is relative based on quality and durability, because the level of tastes that people have differs. For instance, I always say to people, which I'll try to also discuss, in Nigeria today, we're going to have to look at other things. We build majorly with blocks, cement and block. So you find out that whether you are building a house in Mowe Bafo, Ejigbo, Igodo, Ikotun, Okoko, or you are building it in Banana Island, cement is cement, the same cement. Block is block, the same block. Iron rod is iron rod. It is when you now get to the level of finishing that you now begin to say, oh, me, I want POP, I want bulletproof door, I want this. That is when we begin to talk about different. So when we talk about affordability, it's relative to quality and durability. Because really, block is block, cement is cement at the end of the day. So the question now is, what is the quality that you are looking for? What's the quality that I'm looking for? We are going to London. It's the same plane. But inside the same plane, there's economy, there's business class, there's first class. So it's the same plane. We are all going to London. Our visa is visa. Passport is passport. Plane is plane. But inside that plane, some people are in first class, some are in business class, some are in economy, where they will just go chicken or beef, chicken or beef. If you sleep like this and wake up and the tray has passed you, your food is gone for that day. But guess what? You might say, oh, we are all going to get to London at the same time. Yes, we will all get to London at the same time, but not in the same shape and not in the same level of comfort. So it's relative to what? Cost, quality, and durability. Number three, affordability is relative to cost and payment type. When we say affordable, it's all a function of cost and payment, because what is affordable to somebody today, because they are asking for somebody to pay cash, may be affordable for somebody else if they are asking them to pay over a 15-year period. And that's why mortgage, like Professor Pat said, which I'm also going to deal with in the course of my share with you, mortgage has leveled the playing ground in the developed world, because all you need to own a house is for 30% of your income to be able to pay your mortgage. And once 30% of your income can pay your mortgage, then you own a house you pay for 15 years. And that house becomes a major asset that you can use to unlock other wealth. But what do we see in this part of the world? The mortgage industry is still at its infancy. So there are still a lot of things that we need to do that will begin to happen with time. So it's relative to what? To cost and payment type. So that means that when the cost and the payment type is open and easily accessible to all, we can see everyone plugging into home ownership, which is why 1 Million Home is doing is amazing. And I'm going to offload some of that also. So it therefore means that for us to have affordable housing really is more about social housing. Because if cement is the same, block is the same, the cost of land in Mowe is different from the cost of land in Banana Island. but the block you are going to use to build the house in Banana Island is the same block you will use in Mowe. The cement you will use in Banana Island is the same cement you will use in Mowe. The iron rod you will use in Banana Island is the same iron rod you will use in Mowe. So you find that until you get to finishing, majority of the materials are the same. So when you are talking about affordable housing, really, except there is creativity on the part of the real estate company or social input from the government aspect, we may not really be able to achieve affordable housing because cement is cement. It's the same price everywhere. Block is block. Iron rod is iron rod. Therefore, we need to understand that if we are going to achieve affordable housing, which I believe is possible, it's been done all over the world, it's been done in this country on many occasions. Professor Pat mentioned some of that with Jakonde housing and Shagari housing. Now, affordable housing is acceptable and accessible, but there are four of us that have a part to play. And what I want to offload now is to show every one of us. I want to talk to you as individuals and families. I want to talk to you as an investor. I want to talk to you as real estate companies, and I want to talk to you as government, because I know there are a lot of people that are influencers and government people that are in our network that are listening right now, so that when we all play our part, then we'll be able to see it becoming that. So number one, let me start with individuals and families. And I think Debo has settled that one. He has settled that one already, but let me just offload a few things. Now, as individuals and family, you have a part to play to become a homeowner. You have a part to play. And everything that Debo have said is apt to the point. You have a part to play. If you are going to own a home, so talking about accessibility, talking about acceptability, talking about affordability is all about you. You understanding that you have a part to play. Nobody will force a house down your throat. Nobody will force you to be a landlord. You cannot make a man to learn anything. You cannot teach a man anything except you help him to discover it within himself. I'm telling you, just yesterday, I had a Zoom mentorship session with people from all over the world. All through the month of October, I decided to do a Zoom mentorship session to give people 30 minutes free coaching. So I do the Wednesday for people that are within my network, and then Friday, I open it up to people that are on my social media platform. One of the people that booked for a session yesterday is a young lady. I didn't even know that I knew her, but she has emailed, she booked. And then when I met with her online, she said, I know you. I said, I know you now. You have. She was part of her, she was a member of our church. As a teenager, she went to law school and graduated. I said, baby lawyer, I know you. But why are you as the, you know what she told me? She said, sir, in those days, when you were telling us, a city today, she was repeating all my messages, a city today, it's a village yesterday. He said all those things. He said, as you were saying it, we'll just be laughing that this man doesn't understand. All we need now is a husband. What we are looking for now is husband. I just want to graduate. I just want to marry. I just want to get a job. He said, so many of those things were not making sense to us. He said, but it was when we now grew, we now look back and say, this man was trying to help us. So now she's now trying to acquire things she could have acquired 10 years ago, things she could have acquired 12 years ago. She's now talking about, hey, can I come out? Is the land still there? I say, land. That was 17 years ago. He said, hey, I was a teenager, but now I say, wow. So you cannot force anybody to become anything. So I told myself when I told my wife, I said, babe, I have to just keep talking. I said, because we have to keep repeating this thing over and over again. Because if they don't hear this year, maybe in 5 years' time, they will hear. We can't stop talking. So you, as a man, a woman, husband, wife, individual, single, married, old, young, listen to me right now. You have a part to play. But there are few things you must do if you are going to have your own part played so that you can own your own home. People have said, number one, you must have a vision. It's not by force. You must have a vision of home ownership. If you don't have the vision of home ownership, no matter what we say, you will have one excuse or the other. You will have one reason or the other why you should not do it. Number two, you must have a strategic plan. Why? Because hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy, and desire is not enough. You can have all the desire in this world. You heard Debo. After desire, you get knowledge. After knowledge, action. Action is the real McCoy. Because 1,000 good intention is not as powerful as one action. So you must have a strategic plan. Okay, we want to own our own home. How do we do it? Okay, let's join Million Homes. Let's do 100,000 per month. By the time we do 100,000 per month, we'll be able to have a 5-year plan, but let's do 10,000 per month. Oh, I'm still a young boy. I'm still a young girl. I'm still a youth corper. Let me do 10,000. You must have a strategic plan. Number 3, ensure prompt and focused action. Prompt and focused action. Prompt in the sense that we had a conference like this just this July. We had Million Homes this July. And in July, we're telling you, join us. Orange Apartments. On the 1st of October, I was in Orange Apartment, 32 apartments. 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, penthouse. I was there on the 1st of October to dedicate the project. We started in July. In July, when we're telling you, plug in, you probably were still in the lockdown mode. But between July and now, people have earned 25 million commission. People have earned 10 million commission. The old property sold out. 32 apartments gone. We are moving to the next. So now we are reloading it now. And we are telling you, plug in now. Million Homes Edge, Million Home Premium. Plug in now. Because December will soon come. You say, I should have joined. Join now. So what do? Ensure prompt and focus action. Whatever you need to do, don't wait till tomorrow. Do it now. Plug in. Next, leverage on all available opportunities. So once you have a vision of home ownership and you have a strategic plan and you ensure prompt and focus action, you begin to look for opportunities because opportunities are everywhere. I've said it over and over again. POOR. 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 The word poor is an acronym for passing over opportunities repeatedly. So begin to look for opportunity and leverage on all available opportunities. Million Homes is an opportunity now. Leverage on it. If you cannot do 100, do 10. Do 10 in 5 places. Make it 50,000. If you cannot do 1 million, do 100. If you cannot do 10 million, do 5 million. If you cannot do 50 million, do 10 million. And then finally for you, because I need to move fast because of time, you need to now synergize with others. So like Debo have mentioned it, I've said it before, we're saying it again, Million Homes is offering it. What do we mean by synergize with others? You need to come into a cooperative. You need to come into partnerships. So if you cannot own the whole house, own part of the house. Debo also mentioned that. Own part of the house. And that's what Million Homes is offering you. And please, I'm burdened about this thing. I've been in this thing now for decades, trying to get people to understand that this is not rocket science. It's not rocket science. The cars you bought 12 years ago, where are they today? What value did your car give you in the midst of lockdown? All your bag and shoe to match. Your destiny is not matching your bank account. You are buying Peruvian hair, Indian hair, fixing eyelashes, fixing nails. You are buying handset. You have 3 girlfriends, sending them recharge card. All the clothes and shoes and bag. During lockdown, what did it benefit you? But you needed a roof over your head in lockdown. You can real estate is the main investment. So you need to now synergize. How can I partner with people? And we are so privileged that Million Home is a reputable organization that has made it very easy. So plug in so that you can partner with other people to make it happen. Let me move on. As investors, if you are an investor, how do you benefit and plug into this affordable home issue? You need to understand that every investor have their own part to play. The first thing you need to understand as an investor is any investment you are going into, investment is all about 2 things: assets and cash flow. Assets and cash flow. Assets and cash flow. If you are investing, you are either investing to acquire an asset that is tangible and that will become profitable. But above all, cash flow is the real thing you should be thinking of. So any investment you are going into, begin to think cash flow. And that is why Million Home answers all the questions. Because we developed the Million Homes as a solution to all the needs and the problem that we have identified in the market. And it solves the asset problem as an investor. It solves the cash flow problem as an investor. So when you are bringing 50 million, every year you are getting 25%. So as 50 million investment, 25% in first year, 25% in the second year, third year, you get 25%, and then you get your 50 million back, and then you still have 40% in tangible assets, in real estate, that will continue to produce cash flow. So when you plug into Million Homes, you are plugging into an opportunity that, number 1, gives you an asset. Number 2 gives you a cash flow, 21%, 20%, 30%, all manner of percentages depending on where you plug in. So you find out that plugging into Million Homes as an investor settles the 2 reasons for investment. You invest or acquire assets, and you invest to do what? To have cash flow. Now, let me talk about this cash flow thing. Because investment, the real deal about investment is all about cash flow. Because if you have an asset that is tangible and increasing in value, but the asset is not bringing cash flow, it's going to be a part of your asset base and your net worth. But because it is not producing cash flow, there will be a level of limitation. And that is why cash flow is what you should be thinking of. So when you are looking at investment, think cash flow. Number 2, think rate of return. Because when we say affordable housing, when you are going to, you need to begin to ask yourself, what's the rate of return that I'm going to get? And that is why by the time you bring 50 million, because I actually expect at least 10 of you listen to me right now, as some of you are business people, you have been thinking of trying to do things on your own, don't struggle. 10 of you just bring the 50 million. Let's raise $500 million and join us in Million Homes, so that in the next 2-3 years, you will see what we can do together with your 50 million. After 3 years of being with us in Million Homes, you will use your relationship with us to learn how things work. We can now release you in 3 years' time with your 75 million. Because with 50 million, you will get money in first year, second year, and third year. And then by the third year, you can also, okay, now go and start, because you will have had experience. But by that time, even though you have got your 50 million back, you have got 75%, you will also have 40% in apartments or in a physical house that will continue to bring cash flow. So you need to begin to think of rate of return. Because when you are investing in real estate, you need to calculate how many years will it take me to recover my money, so that that money can be reinvested. So for instance, if you buy a house and you are collecting rent, if you are going to collect rent in that house, how many years rent will you collect for you to be able to recover your money? I remember in 2009, the housing bubble that Professor Pat, the housing meltdown, the meltdown issue 2007, 2008 that happened, the subprime mortgage problem, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, all the things he was trying to explain. Now, when that happened, I was part of that system, so I understood. Now, in 2009, I did series of seminars in Nigeria here. Sheraton Hotel in Lagos, Sheraton in Abuja, Naikonuga in Abuja, Port Harcourt, Protea. I went around telling people, this is the time to plug into American houses. Let us buy houses in America. My people, we're buying houses in America for as cheap as $12,000 for a whole 3-bedroom bungalow, a whole duplex, $15,000, because people were in trouble. And those of us that had cash were able to plug in. And I told people, listen, by the time you buy a house with $20,000, you own a whole house. $20,000. And as I then, $20,000 was less than 5 million. Dollar was about 130 something. $20,000 was less than 5 million. And to buy a land in Nigeria, you even need millions then. Do you know what? People were calling me 419. Say, Olumide, and they call himself a pastor. This guy has become a 419. How can you buy a whole house for 20,000? They didn't believe. And I was telling them, I said, you should buy this house for 20,000. Your rent every month is 700, 750. In 1 year, you have gotten 7,000. Within 700 times 12, you will have gotten like 8,004. After all expenses, you will get like 6,000. In less than, by the time you do that 6,000 every year, in about 3 years, you have 18,000. In 4 years, you have made all your money back. People didn't listen. And I told them those houses will go back to become 100,000 in another 10 years. All those things have become a reality now, but people didn't listen. So when we are telling you about Million Homes now, plug in. So as an investor, think percent rate of return, and then the years that it will take you to get your money back. So explore all viable opportunities as an investor. Don't just hold money. Like I was telling you, the young lady that was in my mentorship session yesterday, by the time she explained herself, I said, you know what? This is what you need to do now. This is what you need to do now. This is what you need to do now. So that is that for those of you that are investors. Let me move on because of time. Number 3, let me talk to real estate companies. Now, LifePage is a real estate company, and I'm aware that there are a lot of other people connected to us right now that are into real estate. Debo is into real estate, Realty Point. Many people are all connected here. So listen. As real estate companies, we have a major work to do. We have a lot to do because, like Professor Pat was saying, we keep assuming that the government know what to do. I say, government should do this. They don't know what to do. They are confused. We have to keep talking. Debo is part of real estate association. We're all part of Red Dan. In those days, Red Dan, Real Estate Association, Developers Association of Nigeria. We know what we went through. If Debo and I begin to tell you stories of Red Dan in those days, all the Wawala in Ofada, in the Ofada axis on Red Dan with the Benga Daniel government and all those stuff, you'll be amazed at what we have gone through in this real estate thing. So listen. So as real estate companies, we need to understand that government is not in the business of doing business. So they are not entrepreneurs. You see, governments are like people that go into the kitchen with all the ingredients that they need, and they still come out with a food that you'll be wondering who cook it. Yes, that's government. And Professor Pat mentioned a lot of things that he didn't have enough time to offload, because you need to ask, who is government? Who is government? Many of these people, from the presidency to the lowest, many of them stumbled into it. Our president has been pursuing presidency for 16 years. He finally got it. When they got it, they spent the first 3 years complaining that the people that came before them stole money. They are in their second time. They are still complaining. The 16 years you were planning to be a president, were you not monitoring the economy and monitoring what to do? And look at where we are today. So listen, when you think government and you are thinking they know what to do, they don't know what to do. They are like people that go into kitchen with all the ingredients. Yet, by the time they finish cooking, you are wondering who cooked this food. But you, as a real estate company, you are an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are like people that enter a kitchen, and whatever ingredient they find in the kitchen, they will still come out with the best meal. Why? Because entrepreneurship is creativity, it's innovation, it's ingenuity. So you cannot expect that this affordable housing thing will become a reality without an entrepreneurial mindset. That is why we are the solution, we are the engine room, we are the catalyst that we now engage government, like Professor Pata said, like Debo is part of Red Dan. We keep engaged. The engagement is going on. I want you to know that it's going on. Debo can tell you that all kinds of things are going on. Mr. Fashola has some good ideas and is having some right moves, but a lot of other things still have to be done along with what they are doing. So I can tell you engagement is going on. But you as an entrepreneur, you have a part to play. So let me deal with us as entrepreneurs by letting you know, number one, as an entrepreneur, the environment is not an ideal one. But that should never stop us. People keep complaining, hey, Nigeria, there is no infrastructure. There is no infrastructure. Yes, there is none, and there has never been. With or without infrastructure, you can still. We have achieved a lot without all the enabling environment. Telecom industry came into this country without infrastructure. They are making billions. Reality show came into this country without infrastructure. They are making billions. Cable stations, cable TV came into this country without infrastructure. They are making billions. You have no excuse. Oh. So all you need to realize is, as a real estate person, real estate company, real estate investor, you just need to be creative and innovative. And now creativity and innovation is what we need to help the government solve this problem. But there are 5 dimensions of creativity that I want us to think about so that you can begin to explore that, because that will help us. Number one area of creativity for real estate companies when it comes to affordable housing is types of houses. Types of houses. And Debo also mentioned something around that. I've said that before. Your first house doesn't have to be your last house. So as real estate companies now, we must realize that the middle class is shrinking. Professor Pat mentioned what led to the middle class. The middle class is shrinking. In this Nigeria today, over 70% of Nigerians are in poverty. They are living below $1 a day. 30,000 naira is the minimum wage. So they are back to the 80s because dollars. So even though they are earning 30,000, when you compare their money in dollar, so for you to be thinking of affordable housing now, we have to be thinking of the types of house that people really need. So we should begin to look into 1-bedroom studio flats.
We should begin to look into room and parlor apartments. We should begin to look into going back to those tenement houses that we call face me, I face you, and bringing them to a modern standard where the face me, I face you is not the face me, I face you, that they will all be going to share kitchen, they will all be going to share toilets or share bathroom. It will be face me, I face you, like an hotel style, where every room is ensuite with a kitchenette and extractor. And then everybody can own a home. So you can become a landlord with just 1 million naira. You are a landlord in your one room there with you and your wife, and then we'll still have the one that is room and parlor. So even in the same apartment, you can graduate from landlord of one bed studio to landlord of room and parlor, and then we do exchange. You add money, you move to the next one, we renovate that one, give it to the next people. So real estate will be thinking. That's number one. Types of houses we're going to build. Number two is the kind of building material we're going to be using. All this brick and block. Somebody asked Professor Pat, and he was mentioning that it's a cultural thing, and that's the problem. Many years ago, I don't know if you know Clay bus stop in Clay in Oregon. That Clay, there's a factory called Clay. The bus stop came, and when that factory came, and we went to South Africa in 2003. We even have one man that started doing the clay block. We went to South Africa in 2003, came in with all this clay. Listen to me, people will say, Ilalamo, brick house. Who will buy it? Who will do this? But listen to me. If you look at there's an estate on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway where we have Kara. That estate was built then. People abandoned it. Why? Because some of them were built with brick. So as real estate companies, we have to begin to think of different building materials. We have gone. If you build a house now, if you go to Ikeja, at the secretariat in Ikeja, where you have MITV, you have NEPA, there is an estate there. It was built with fiber and built with all this like rubber stuff, just like American houses. The same thing has happened in Surulere. So when they did it, I said, I went there. By the time they told me the price, I said, wow, this is good. But it's been sold. So real estate companies, we are the innovators, we are the creators. Let's stop all this brick and block and all these cement houses. Don't ever think culture. When will we change the culture? Let us go into a revolution like this NSAS now. That's everywhere. Let us now say end block now, end cement now. And let us decide and come up with, because there are other, I can tell you about 15 materials. That's what you have to pay. That's 15 materials you can use to build house. I'm only telling you one now, which is just brick. And with brick, you don't even need air condition. It will cool the house. There are many benefits. So we need to begin to look at creativity, number one, in the types of houses, number two, the materials we use. So that we can begin to, because there are materials that, before you know it, you can build a whole 3-bedroom with less than 3 million. Depending on the material you call this brick and block and concrete and iron rod, it will help us if we are going to achieve the affordable housing and bridge it down. Number three, we need to begin to think of the number of floors. All this bungalow. I think Professor Pat was talking about urban renewal, gentrification and urban renewal. Listen, do you know that many of those houses that were built then, they are now being bought, pulled down, upper floor, bought, put down. So when you look at Banana Island, will you go and buy land in Banana Island and build bungalow? But do you know why many of us are building bungalow in other places now? Because in our mind, it should be land is just 1 million, land is just 2 million. But you have forgotten that is going to become the Banana Island of tomorrow. 1004, that is in VI. When was it built? Was it not built multiple story? So as real estate people, let's begin to think multiple floors, because the land is the same. But if we begin to think multiple floors, we can achieve a lot with reference to all this. Look at what we did in Orange Apartment. Orange Apartment and amazing. Even if you have not bought into Orange Apartment, just go on excursion. Come and see what we have done. We are even proud of ourselves. And we are proud of all of you that trusted us with your money. You come and see what your money is doing. And those of you that have not brought your money, we are waiting for your money. Bring your money. We have all manner of apartments. We have land everywhere waiting. The same thing we did in Orange Apartments, in Ogbaye, the Delu Estate. We have land in Bagada sitting down that can do the same. We have land in Lekki that can do the same. We have land everywhere. Bring this money. Let us show you what we are talking about. So listen and listen well. Number of floors. By the time we do number of floors, go to London, go to South Africa, you will see floors with lifts, and we can build massive apartments, and everybody can own a home. With 1 million, you can become a landlord. You can own a home with 3 million. You can own a home of your own for life, and we can give you 10 years to pay, because we can leverage a lot of other things. Number 4, the funding plan. How do we fund all these things? In order to fund this, that's why we are doing Million Homes, telling you to bring money. One of the ways, because a lot of us that can solve the problem, we need funds. We need funds. We have the vision, we have the wherewithal, we have the strategy, but sometimes we are limited by funds, because when I get to government part, you will understand. We need the fund. And that's why we are telling you, bring your money and trust us with your money. The vision is clear. We have a track record here. I've been in this thing 19 years. I've raised many people that are doing amazing things all over this country. So when I'm talking, I know what I'm talking about. I'm speaking from word of knowledge and word from knowledge. So funding plan, if you are a real estate person, begin to look into crowdfunding, investment club, getting other people to bring their money together. And once you have integrity, you are good to go. The next funding plan we need to look at is diaspora funding, because interest rates in this country is dangerous. Diaspora funding. So for those of you that have opportunities to get money from diaspora, maybe you have ways to get a loan that is single digit, 5%, 3%, bring the money. All of you that are abroad, listen to me right now. You are in London, you are in America. Everybody is not a fraud. Whether you have been there, you are here. I don't want to go back to Nigeria. Nigeria is still where you came from. It's your roots. So if you cannot come back, let your money return to build this, because if you don't send your money back to this country to build this country, you will be getting phone calls from people that we could help you empower here. Those of us that are in, we can help you empower these people so that they won't be calling you. So if you know you are in America, London, Canada, Australia, you are in diaspora, and you have good credit, a good credit where you can access $100,000, $50,000, $300,000 with your credit card, with your credit at 3%, 2%, 5%, 6%, collect it on your credit card. Bring it to us. Let us help you so that our interest rates will settle whatever you are doing there. And if you have people in diaspora that have money, some of you have saved 200,000, 300,000, you put it in Wells Fargo, you put it in Bank of America, you put it in Citibank, you put it in all the bank in America, you put it there. At the end of the day, they are giving you what? 0.02%, 1.000, and you are just wondering, you say, I don't trust anybody. Look, we can be trusted. So diaspora, because the money in diaspora is massive, and we can put that in here and do a lot here. And finally, payment plan. We need to be creative about payment plan, and that's why we are doing what we're doing. So right now, if you're a real estate person, when we talk about affordability, I told you affordable house is acceptable and accessible. That's why I'm putting everything together, because there are people right now, and that's why I'm talking to you about rent to own. There are people right now that pay between 500 to $1 million every year as rent. So as real estate people, we have started coming up with creative ideas. You buy a house, it's 5 million, your rent is 1 million, pay us 1 million every year. We can even do it interest free. So we need to begin to think of that. So as a real estate company, your assignment is what? Be creative and be innovative in the type of houses, the building materials, the number of floors, the funding plan, and the payment plan. And that will help to achieve this affordable housing stuff. Finally, government. Hey, government. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We are the government. So if you are listening to me right now, you have direct access to look at what we are doing now with NSAS, social media. That is what we should be doing with housing. If we invade this airspace with this, they'll begin to wake up. So government is trying to do what they can do, but it's just that there are many things that are wrong. I will flow some of them now. So the government has a major part to play that will help every other person to achieve their own path. So I've told you what you should do, individual and family, investors, company, but government's part affect all of us. If they play their part, it will be easier for all of us. So government, number one job of government that they need to do is infrastructure. To make sure that the infrastructural deficit is settled, because infrastructural deficit is a major bottleneck. Major bottleneck. When I started that in 2001, and we began to open up different villages, 10 acre, 50 acre, 100 acres. You get there, you realize that there is no light, there is no road. I remember for 3 years, I kept pursuing Rural Electrification Agency. I kept pursuing the senators, come and do this constituency, come and do this, come and do that. We went, we went to the governor, sat down. You'll be amazed at what we have done. You will now realize that many of these guys, they are visionless, completely visionless and clueless. They are just there for their pocket. They don't have any vision or any plan for anybody. So that's why I keep telling you, no one will plan your life if you don't plan it for yourself. You need to have a plan and take this thing serious and act upon it. So government is infrastructure. Imagine, listen now. You know they are doing Lagos-Ibadan Express Road now. There's no train there. They are now saying they are doing one train, the one that they collected money from China, that they are doing all the way to Ibadan. They are doing it. There's no doubt. But look at the costs at which they are doing it. Have we not all traveled to different parts of the world? The same Lagos-Ibadan Express Road that they are doing, in the middle of that road, where you have the coverts, all they could have done as they are doing the road is be putting beams there. Beams, that will carry the train. The rail will be on top and will be going parallel on that same road with people. Instead of going to have another track and open up, there are infrastructure. There are many villages. Do you know that in those days, I schooled in Loni, Kwara State, and I used to go to school with train. All those villages and all those towns, all the bus stop where there is train, all the adjoining land there were benefiting from that. All those things died. Because technology eliminates villages. Infrastructures eliminates villages. All of you that have traveled abroad, have you seen a village in America or in London? But those places you are going to is somebody's village. The reason why you say you are going to London, to somebody else, that's their village. But to you, it's London, America, Canada, Italy, France. You know why? Because there is road, there is lights, there is internet, there is cable. It is those infrastructures and those technology that eliminates the village in those places. Whereas in your own country, you are calling a place a village just because you saw bush. Did you? All the places you went to in London, didn't you see bush? From airport in London to town, are you not going to see bush everywhere? Go to America, you see bush everywhere. Why are you not calling this a village? Is there no bush in London? Is there no bush in America? All the places you are calling developing country, there are bushes everywhere. But you don't call them bush, you're calling them garden, you call them forest. You look for corporate name to call them. But when you come to your uncle, you say it's bush. Why? It's all about infrastructure. So government, they need to put infrastructures in place. Because if we open up all this, look at people that are working in look at what has happened in Mowe Bafo, all this people that are working in Lagos, they work in Mowe Bafo, work in Ofada, go to Abuja, people work in Nasarawa, people live in Nasarawa and they work in Abuja. So what you need to do is, by the time we have infrastructures, we can open up Ijebu, from Lagos to Ibadan, all those villages there, we can open it up. People can live in Ijebu, people can live anywhere. And with the virtual world now, virtual reality, you discover that it's a new thing. So because of my time, let me just quickly rush and throw out what government needs to do. So number one, government needs to put infrastructure. Number two, government has policy issues they need to settle. What are the policy issues they need to settle? Number one is fiscal policy. How they use the revenue that they make. The money that government is making, how are they spending it? They have given us 2021 budget now, you have seen. Recurrent expenditure greater than capital expenditure, as always. So how are they spending the money? They need to look into the fiscal policy to ensure that the money we are generating will
All right. I think that must be a network problem. That must be a network problem. Right. So just in case you have any question, please get your questions ready. I will be wrapping up in less than 15 minutes. All right. If you have any question, please get it ready. Media director, please get in touch, and let's get Dr. Olumide Emmanuel back online. So just in case you have any questions, get them ready. I would love to see if those questions are here right now. Amazing session we have today, honestly. And everybody, you have it's a buffet. That's what we have today. It's a buffet. Being the first day of this conference, it's just a buffet. So whether you are an investor, you are an individual, you are a family, you are a real estate practitioner, you are in government, you are a real estate company, all this is, this is too much value. This is so much value right here. Right, just in case you have any questions, please feel free to drop your questions right away. And I'm hoping that to get Dr. Olumide Emmanuel back online. If you're enjoying this session, please let's see your comments. If you're enjoying it, if this is adding value to you, please let us know. If it's adding value, let's know. We'd like to see your comments.
Okay.
Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, can you? I was wondering what went wrong, but I think it's the network issue.
Yeah.
So,
network,
can you hear me now? Let me just wrap up in 2 minutes. So now I was talking about the policies. I think you guys led me up to policy. Okay. So the fiscal policy, government needs to work on infrastructure. Then they need to work on policy. Under policy, fiscal policy, how they use the revenue that they get so that they can put money where it's needed. Monetary policy, how they fix the interest rate. Because the reason why our mortgage companies and mortgage industries has its infancy is because of the interest rate. It's crazy. And like I've always said, when people earn salary every month and you're expecting them to come and pay rent per annum, it is fueling corruption. Because they earn salary monthly and then they have to pay rent per annum. Look at what Professor Patitomi said about First Bank that years ago when he discovered that they had 38,000 mortgages. And look at all the people that have houses. Where did they get money to build the houses? So we need to look into that interest rate issue so that people can be able to get money at a good rate that will help them to be able to assist their dream. Then housing policy. Our housing policy must make sure that we have decent and affordable housing. And now, when we talk about decent and affordable housing, I told you earlier on, there is a social infrastructure aspect. Shagari housing that they are talking about, at least I know about Jakande House, even if I don't know about the Shagari one. I know Shagari, but the Jakande housing estate was a trickle-down effect. You know what they did with the Jakande housing estate? What Jakande did was, he realized that when it comes to building a house, there are some basic aspects. Cement, block, iron rod, and also what Jakande did is he called all the people that produce cement. He called them into a meeting. He called all the people producing block, all the companies producing iron rod, all the companies producing doors, all the companies producing roofing material, all the companies that were producing every item that was needed. He called all of them together and said, look, this is the vision. We want to create houses that is affordable. So what is your production cost for this item? How much is your production cost for cement? He said, so what we are going to do is for your production cost, we'll just add, let us know what we can add. And that's how they were able to build all those Jakande houses. And that is so affordable housing must have a social dimension. So for governments, if you really have a housing policy, look at what Million Homes is doing. Look at what we have done in Common Sense. Look at what other people are doing. If the government now comes to say, if you can produce this number of houses, because all the taxes we are paying government, what are they doing with the taxes? So if you give people tax incentive, many of these companies can do more than what they are doing now and will be able to achieve more. So we need to have those plans so that government can work together with private sector and get these things done. Then I want to say something about Land Use Act, which is also a policy issue. You see, this Land Use Act issue that is putting land in the hand of governor, and they will now be saying you have to governor's consent. Do you know, and Professor Pat said something about it, if you can give people CFO for their land, many of these things are dead assets. People have land all over this country that they have bought, and we are saying it's in the village. There is no village abroad because of technology. If every land, we that have properties in different parts of the world, we know the value of our property because of documentation. Let us give people documentation, CFO for all their land, so that their land can unlock wealth for them to be able to do a lot of things for themselves. And then I want to say something about pension. We have multiple trillions in pension fund now. And I was part of a conference on the 1st of October where they were asking somebody the question about pension, and he was saying that the money belongs to the people, so they cannot borrow government the money. I'm not in that, of course, he's right. But there's an aspect they did not go into. The money belongs to the people. But have you people sat down to realize that this pension thing is becoming a fraud? And I'm throwing it out there. Pension is becoming another fraud. Because now people now have millions in pension that they cannot touch. For you to touch the money, they say you must be 50. When you are 50, they say you must be jobless. And there are people that will never be jobless. So what now happens to all their millions that is sitting down in the hand of people managing it? Why can't people look at what has happened with COVID-19? Do you know there are people in COVID-19 now that have lost their job, lost their houses, lost many things, and they cannot access some dimensions of their money? So you need to understand that with COVID-19, let there be a government policy to say, if you have money in pension, a COVID-19 personal measure, you can collect money from your pension. We are going to give you maybe 6 months, but you can collect maybe 25% or 50% of your pension money. You know that it is your future you are eating. So that those of us and other people that have something better to do with the money will not keep money there, and we are not planning to retire, we are not planning to lose our job. I felt I should throw that out because there are many people like that in that category. And finally, a good way to go, if we are going to get this done from government aspect, is public-private partnership, if it is void of corruption, because corruption has ruined us in this country. And let me close with that. Public-private partnership, PPP, that doesn't have corruption. I was part of one. I had to walk away. They told us to come and build. They were out of this because government has the initiative. They even have website. They have all the plan. They can talk. But when the chips are down, I'm telling you as an insider, they say affordable housing, the head of service. They want to build houses for what they do. Do you know what? They sold this 2-bedroom to civil servants for 14.5 million. And they have been collecting money from their salary. Say they want to build them houses. They now invited all of us as private companies to come and build the houses. Do you know what they did? They gave the contract of the building to another person. The corruption, another person. And they gave the houses to that person to build at 12.5, 2 million difference. So government wants to make if it's really government and not some people. So they are selling it to people at 14.5. They gave it to this man, one man and one senator, all of them gathered together. They said they set up a company at 12.5. Those people now invited us to come and build the house, and they are giving it to us at 7.5 to build. Now, they wanted us to build 1,000 at 7.5. That's 7.5 billion. When we did our calculation to finish that house, because of the volume, it was going to cost us almost 7 million. So we that are going to do the job, they are expecting us to make 530,000 naira per house. However, between that 7.5 and 14.5, people that are not going to do anything, they want to chop multiple millions. And the people that are paying will be paying 14.5. When they could have, I swear, done it direct or given it to us direct, we will have done it at maybe 8 million. People will have bought it at maybe 8.5, and it will be better for all of us. So, all of you listen to me right now. Let us all come together, because we cannot continue the way things are. And it is my hope and my desire that you maximize the opportunities of all you have learned today, because affordable housing is acceptable and accessible. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Really, really, this is today has been hot. Just in case you have any question, I said that earlier. It would be nice we take all the questions, and then if there are areas that you need clarifications, this would be a good opportunity to ask. My mentor, Dr. Olumide Emmanuel, is very good when it comes to answering questions. So just in case you have questions, this will be a good time to answer your questions. Will be done in a few minutes. So let's exercise a little more patience. Please,
Okay.
this one is from Abubakar
Abubakar
Please, in
Ismaila.
your explanations, you are only mentioning Lagos State. Does that mean you don't have house plans for clients in Abuja and other parts of the country? It's just a reference.
It's a reference. We have houses everywhere.
Projects.
We have projects in Abuja. If you want house in Abuja, we have homes in Abuja. We have land. We have everything. We have in all that part, in Lorry, east, west, anywhere. We are in a network.
Yeah.
So anywhere you are in this country, contact Million Homes. If we don't have directly, we have people in our network that has. Almost every state in Nigeria, we have network everywhere of people that we are all in the same tribe. So join the tribe so that you can learn more about. So anywhere you are, houses are available, both locally and internationally. Anywhere. We are on 4 continents.
All right. Any more questions? Any more questions? Media director, do we have any more questions so that we can call it a day? Okay, this is from Melvin Kadri. What's your take on building energy efficient homes in regarding to building materials, sir?
That's the future. I already said that. The materials we use, we have to begin to think of that. So that is the future. But because it is something that is like a counterculture, like Professor Pat said, people will resist it, but let's start. So you may think that, for instance, now, what we plan to do with Million Homes, which we are still going to do with other homes, is we're planning a house where it's still 24 hours electricity and 24 hours electricity, 24 hours internet, without NEPA or power holding. We're building something that they will not be in the equation at all. And we are still, so you can begin to think without box, not outside the box, without box. So that is the way to go. Energy efficient home, it is the way to go. Sir, explain the 10K package. So, Tim, can you please give them insight on that? The 10,000 per month Million Home opportunity.
All right. So, Mike, so the Million Homes package basically has 4 different options, and then regardless of your current socioeconomic status, you can plug in any. So the 10K basically is a piecemeal real estate investment option that allows you to build up capital towards a bigger project in the future. So you can do a 1 to 2 year investment plan. You can run a 3 to 4 year. You can do a 5-year plan. So as little as 10,000 naira monthly, and then if you do 10,000 naira monthly over a 5-year period, you are guaranteed millionaire, guaranteed, no story, no grammar. So that's for those who are just, and then it's online wherever you may be anywhere in the world. You can create an account, choose your preferred investment option, and then you make your investments, you make payments, and then it's an open-ended offer. That particular offer, the Million Homes Flex, so it's drawn from flexible. So it's Million Homes Flex. It's very flexible, and then you can do that rather than keep your funds in a low income or low return on investment savings account. This is a superior, it gives you superior advantage. I hope that helps. Just in case you need more information.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Mike, what you are hearing now is listening. Instead of sitting down there, say, I don't know what to do. Every month, you are bringing 10,000. The 10,000 you are bringing in 1 year is 120. In the second year, you bring another 120. But we are going to give you 20% for 5 years compounded. So at the end of the 5 years, your 30,000 per month will be like 1,071,000. Whereas the money you brought is 120 times 5, which is not up to 1.something million. But because of the compounded interest of 20% we're going to give you, by the end of the 5th year, you will have over 1 million. That 5 years time, you can now collect your 1,171,000, about 1.1 million. And then go and build your own house or buy land. Or you can now take that 1.1 million and use it to buy part of another house with us at that point and become a part owner of a flat. So what we are saying is, instead of just sitting and saying, I wish I had money, we are giving everybody opportunity to start the journey. So plug in now. And because the future starts now.
Now. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So you can also log in to Million Homes Africa, www.millionhomesafrica.com, to get more details and to subscribe right away. And then you can also call these numbers or send a text or WhatsApp 09060005737. Let me take it slowly. 09060005737. 09060005747 to get all the links and all of that. Some of those things, some of those information are scrolling right away as I speak with you. So let's take this as a final question. This is about Abosede Coca. How do we eradicate third-party culture in building done by governments?
It's corruption level. It will take a while because the way they have structured things. You know me, my problem is I don't know how to keep quiet. So that's part of my problem. Listen to me. Just this week, there is a project, a state in this country. We have gone through all the process. We sat down with governor like this, one-on-one. And governor said, it's settled. You are qualified. You will hear from us. We have been waiting to hear from them for the past 3 weeks. Last week, they called. That, you put it to come. Oh, governor has given us your name. That your job must be released this month. By the time we finally sent our people to the place, when they got there, they say, actually, the governor has approved your job, but the way it works, we can't really give you the job. Oh, we already have people that will do the job. So you will just collect the money, collect this money and go. So what are you talking about? Somebody will do the job in the name of our company, our integrity. Sorry, we don't work like that. We have a name. We are a new breed of Nigerians, integrity. So they are now saying, no, what is the problem? We'll just give you money. You won't do anything. You will make millions. Just sit down. And somebody else, I said, what of the quality of the job they will do? We are still on that case now. I said, look, we must go back to the governor. Let him know this, what is happening. And we are pulling out. Let them. So it's corruption, my brother. Most contracts in this country does not go to the people that will do the job. One person will collect the contract. If you know what's happening in Nigeria today, one person will collect the contract. The person that now collect the contract will now begin to sell it and sublet it. And that's how the ripple effect goes. So it's corruption. So what can be done? The only thing that can be done is for us as private sector to continue to gather together. And then if you join us now, like I said, if 10 people give us 50 million, we have 500 million. By the time they start seeing private sector doing massive things, it will become, they won't have any choice now. Do you know there are more private school in Nigeria now than public school? What happened to public school? Has it not become a shame now that government cannot manage any school? That's the same thing that will happen to real estate. Let us stop talking government. Leave them, like Professor Pat said. Forget them. They do. So let us that are private sector, let individual, let us all come together. The way we are coming together for Big Brother, and you people are spending 30 naira. I mean, how much are they spending on a phone? And people have made billions. You are watching other people sleep. The same way you put money together for Big Brother, bring money now to Million Homes. The same way all of you are hitting the social media, are hitting the street, NSAS. Bring money now, end poverty, end tenancy. And then when we have enough money, we'll be able to do a lot that the government will have no choice but to say, no, these guys have the solution. That's the way out, because the corruption of Nigeria, only time will tell.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. We are truly inspired and ready to go and take over and take action. Thank you so much, sir. We deeply appreciate your time. We deeply appreciate your time.
Welcome.
We'll let you leave now, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, then.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. All right, people. I'm sure you've drawn tremendous value from today's summit. Next weekend is going to be another bomb, and you really don't want to miss it. Next weekend we'll be hosting Shola Adeshakin, and it's going to be a bomb. I tell you the truth, Shola Adeshakin, you can check her out online, and you know she's a phenomenal woman. And for any lady listening to us, you tell someone to tell someone, tell a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend to tell a family member who will tell another family member to join in. And just in case you are watching right now, you are not registered, so that you can get updates on some of the things that will be coming up. It would be nice if you register for this next weekend edition. So the Mega Housing Summit we've packaged for this year is going to hold every weekend. So this Saturday we have 3 speakers. Next weekend it's going to be just 2 speakers, and I'll be sharing with you next weekend, you just want to listen to that. And it's the first time I'm going to be sharing on how to retire, retirement planning through real estate. And Shola Adeshakin will be talking a lot around real estate acquisition for professionals. So you are a chartered accountant, you are a professional, you are a medical doctor, you are a legal counsel or lawyer or whatever. You want to know how you can leverage your profession to acquire real estate. You need to listen next weekend, and you just can't afford to miss it. If today has added any value to you, please, why not share this link. Share, those of you who are watching on YouTube, share the link. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, why not share that link as well? Let it go viral. Let it be a blessing to some other person out there, and you'll be glad you did. Your light doesn't go dim when you light other people's candle. I want to sincerely appreciate you all for being a part of this conference. My name once again is Oladipo Clement, and I'm the Chief Executive and Chief Servant of the LifePage Group. And I'm so excited that we brought this to each and every one of you in your respective homes and on the go. I want to thank you for being a part of this. I look forward to hosting you again next weekend, same time, 5 p.m. UK and Nigerian time. So please, just in case you have any questions about any of our offerings, about any of packages that were presented, or about some of our speakers, please feel free to call those numbers and we will get right back to you. If you did not register, go to events.lifepagegroup.com just so you could register, or you call those numbers scrolling on the screen so you can get details on how to register. I want to thank you once again for being a part of this conference. See you again next weekend for the second phase of the Mega Housing Summit, and it's going to be bomb. We're going to go really practical and go into some basic issues, and then we'll be giving you a whole lot more next weekend. So till we come your way again, as I often like to say, please always remember, winners never quit and quitters never win. So stay inspired till you succeed. Bye for now. Bye, everyone. Bye for now.
Be what you want to be. Achieving your dreams has never been easier, faster, and smarter. Select any of our Million Homes investment plans and earn amazing returns.
Million Homes Flex. Invest a minimum of 10,000 Naira monthly for a duration of 1 to 5 years and earn up to 20% compounded return on investment.
Million Homes Hedge. Invest a minimum of 100,000 Naira for 1 and 2 years and earn 21% and 47% returns on investment respectively.
Million Homes Premium. Invest a minimum of 10 million Naira for 3 years and earn 75% returns on investment in cash.
Million Homes Premium Plus. Here, you invest a minimum of 50 million Naira and earn 60% returns in cash and 40% in assets. That is, apartment. Wow!
Growing your cash has never been so simple.
To subscribe, log on to millionhomesafrica.com. Create an account, choose your preferred investment option, select your number of slots and make payment. Please do well to follow us via Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Million Homes AFR. Our phone line remains 090-6000-5737 or 090-6000-5747. Our email millionhomes@lifepagegroup.com. Million Homes. Live here
Or make it fund your living.